Hello and welcome to race 11 of season 4 of AMX Global Series. This is the AMX 1 League Light from Circuit Zolder, live with the Renault Clio Cup, and it's a circuit that we have raced previously, but with the AMX 1 guys, AMX 10 guys in TCRs, but completely different order this time around. We're in AMX 1 and in Renault Clio Cups, same sort of format, touring cars, but around a Grand Prix circuit. So then, we have a bit of a different structure here today because we got not just one, not two, but three commentators on board. It's me, Amir alongside me, Damon, and on the other side of the frame here is Lorenzo, who will also be doing the commentary and part of the interviews as well. Lorenzo, first of all, I think this is our first show together. How are you feeling here today?
I'm feeling good. You know, it's a good track combination to start this day. I like the Clios around Zolder. It has a TCR feeling, low power, door banging, so it fits nicely to track.
Certainly it is, and it's kind of reminiscent of Stock Car Brazil, but it's the lower forms, isn't it? The feeder series that goes up all the way to the Stock Car Pro series. Yep. But before we get to all the nitty-gritty, this is the social that we have below. We have Instagram, we have Twitch, we have X. Well, we call it Twitter in this one, but it's also called X, whatever we call it.
Not calling it X.
Discord, YouTube, and our website where you can register up to the point where qualifying starts. So you can actually join in now as the session is progressing. And of course, we have short form content on TikTok. So that's part one of the way, which is showing the preliminaries out of the way. Now we're gonna go into the housekeeping, where we run through what is it all about here. So this is the overview of AMX Global League Season 4. Starts from the 27th of January all the way up to April 21st, with a prize pool of $20,000 and next level gear, racing on a variety of cars and tracks, as we have seen so far this season, of course. The format for this season qualifies up for 20 minutes. Then we flip the script, turn the top 15 on its head. So the one who starts 50 will be first, or whoever is starting the lowest will be up in front. And then a 20-minute first heat. After that, we reverse the top 15 positions from the results back to another heat too. So that is what we have in the race format. And of course, prizes will be given out for $100. The balance is paid out everyone once you reach $100. And driver cam is now required for both AMX 10 and AMX 1. So that's why it'll be nice to see everyone on board, so we can have their lovely faces being shown during the broadcast, especially some directions of how they drive here. You can sign up and race anytime at amxrace.com. Now then, here's when we are racing today. And in GMT, this is where we're at. 5:50 p.m. on a Tuesday, 7:20 p.m. later on for the AMX 10 guys, but it's the usual for all 3 days now because we had separate schedules at one point. Now it's more homogenized, so everyone will be racing at the same time. As hello to everybody in the chat below as well. Now then, we can move over to what we are racing here today. This is the prize pool. So first we'll get $7 for qualifying, all the way to 20 cents in the 50th position. Then when we flip the script, that's what we're going to get here for reverse grid. If you finish first from that first heat, $7 as well, and $1 extra for the fastest lap of the race, and so on and so forth. Same here for heat 2, with a total up to $100 per race. Now then, here's the overview of the top 12 that we have had so far in AMX 1, which includes both iRacing and Assetto Corsa Competizione, and the amount of averages that we're given. For now, Connor Healy is actually the highest earner here, as he's won one race out of the 5 he's raced so far, $56.30 for all his efforts. Behind him is Facundo Rago, and then Diego Villarreal de Leon, with a separation for about $10 there. And surprised to still see that our good mate Imran Zohaili, who's a Malaysian, he's quite fast in ACC, still up in the top 10 here, in fact top 12 in the AMX 1 top 12 standings, all the way up to Kevin Leon with a $22 purse that he has earned so far. But this is pretty much the name of the game here, because prize money is offered for all the positions that you finish, providing that you cross the line here. And of course, to encourage more entries, here's the current promotion that we have for the drivers who come on AMX, either 1 or 10, the D3 promotion. You purchase an entry 3 days before the race to get 30% off, and this pertains to all AMX Season 4 races. while the season DC tickets will have an entry available for purchase. These tickets are of each class, a total of 6, and will provide 50% off for total for all the races purchased of each class. So that's the promotion that we have it, and pretty much the housekeeping out of the way. Now we're gonna go to Lorenzo, and after that Damon for the car and track combo. But first up, Lorenzo will provide what car are we racing here today? No, sorry, track. We're gonna be racing here today. So
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the core, right? Circuit Zolder, the other premier Belgian track venue, other than one spot, Francorchamps, is located in the municipality of Huizen-Zolder, 47 kilometers close to the town, Dutch town of Maastricht in the Dutch-Belgian border. This track has been opened in 1963. Has a length of 4,011 kilometers, and it has about 10 corners while maintaining a relatively flat nature. Is actually an undulating track to run on. Hosted the Belgian Grand Prix about 10 times during the 70s and 80s, most notably for the race debut of the groundbreaking Lotus 79, and also in 1982 it was the venue that basically we saw Gilles Villeneuve die during an accident during the qualifying of the Grand Prix. Hosts nowadays the TCR Belgian Grand Prix, TCR Europe in the 24-hour Zolder. Track opportunities for overtaking basically everywhere, I would say, with these cars, but and also because one of the third of these corners basically are chicanes. And one trivia, boys, regular days we cannot be noisy. This track only has a decibel limit of 96 A-weighted decibels. This is only removed on the race weekends and international test days.
And it's similar to Brands Hatch in that regard because of the fact that you had to close the circuit at 6 p.m. But that's a nice little trivia to have there, Lorenzo, and we'll probably keep that in mind to lower the noise levels, not to wake up the neighbors. Now then, Damon, you can run through what's the car that we are going to be racing on.
Yeah, of course, we're going to be running with the Renault Clio RSV Cup cars. These cars are base level Renault Clios, good for entry level racers. Relatively slow powered, but also makes for some very nimble cars as well. Top speed, not very big, about 133 miles an hour or 214 kilometers per hour. Runs about 200 horsepower, but that does ensure that the level playing field is there, and that we'll see some competitive racing from all these drivers here. Front wheel drive, of course, which means they'll be quite agile in the corners, and with cars that aren't super powerful like these, this relatively small size track will feel like a long one.
Absolutely, and the front wheel drive cars, though you said that they're quite agile, it's going to be a bit understeery, so they're going to have to watch their throttle. It's not as intuitive as these TCR cars where they have a bit more aero. This is more towards how you can just play around with the throttle coming out of the corners. And a nice bonus as well, it's sequential, so none of that nonsense with H pattern. Sorry to those guys who love H patterns, but we just love flicking through the gears so they can get it up faster. But as you can see here, it's easy to lock up as well, so really chuckable touring cars. Can't wait to see how it goes. So then, with all the formalities out of the way, Lorenzo and Damon, we're going to bring you all the action on qualifying pretty soon here, as we're going to jump now to Circuit Zolder, or its alternate name, in fact, is the Circuit Terleman. And we're coming up to the corner where Lorenzo was mentioning just now that actually took, sadly, the life of Gilles Villeneuve. It used to be a fast right-hander, but it's now become a chicane to slow the cars, and it has proper fencing so to prevent a sort of incident that befell on Gilles Villeneuve. And really, it's nice to drive around, especially in touring cars like this, but how we would love to see F1 cars back, though. Again, Spa exists, unfortunately. And, well, we're going to jump over to Lorenzo every now and then to provide his insight on it. But Damon, this is your first time here. So far, at least in qualifying, live timing that we're seeing. Who stand out to you so far?
So far, obviously, when we're looking at qualifying times, we always want to look at the fastest drivers here. And Mauricio Lozano here, coming over from Mexico, driving for CLK Esports, is doing quite well for himself. About a half a second gap between him and second place of Diego Villarreal. As we'll go on board with Mauricio right now, you can see as he's just about to start his next lap, going in there into turn 1. He does seem to have the car very well under control.
Indeed. So far, at least, because Lorenzo is from Brazil, a few of his Brazilian compatriots here right now, and Renato Para is the fastest, but only fastest among the Brazilians, but 1.55 seconds behind Lozano. I think the Tony Kanaan team were quite active last season, weren't they, Lorenzo? Would you like to see any more of those guys back for this one?
I do. I think we might be seeing them maybe for the TCR race during AMX 10. So looking forward to see that. I think we're even going to see some guys like Callis, maybe Villarreal coming back because they mainly do these cars. They are TCRs at its core. They do championships both in Brazil and also South America mainly. So we should be seeing them as well coming into that. I expect some of the times maybe to come down and maybe Marcos Riffo coming and doing a fast lap. So I like the nature of these cars. They do demand some technique, like most the brake and throttling technique during acceleration to minimize, the slide when coming into the corner, because you want to be as aggressive as you can during corner entry while maintaining the tire pressure. But I like this car, and I think I don't know if they run the Clio Cup as Zolder nowadays, but if they don't do that in real life, I think it's a track that should be run on 100%.
Looking at the current list of cups that we have that have set record lap times, doesn't seem like the Clios are running on Zolder. See Megans, I think. Yeah, we have Renault Megans, but not the Clios themselves.
Yeah, in fact, the McGann lap record around here is a 133, but we're not going to see any of those times. It's about a dozen seconds slower, 145 flat from Lozano, but faster so far by about half a second, with Reales in second place, a further 200s ahead of Diego Villarreal. So we haven't seen some of the other drivers setting their times yet, including Amoroso, Ramos, returning Gerardo Ramos, and what looks like another Brazilian in third place there, Marcos Rifel. So plenty of Brazilians represented here right now. So they're probably keeping their powder dry in the last 7 minutes here to see if they can set any fast times, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is a track, like I said, that is highly technical. Hard for you to get a perfect lap on because of the braking zones coming into these chicanes where the car is going to be thrown around like a lollipop. And wow, I did not expect to see a Clio with the São Paulo police livery on it. Well, that's creative if you want to call it that.
I think what the plan is that seeing a police car in your rearview mirror will probably make you want to drive faster, right?
Either that, or if you had the sirens, I would say just pop in the sirens and try to make them slow down just to say, yeah, I'll come in through. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. But like I said before, creativity when it's best is just a gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. And I was about to ask which region of Brazil was it from. Luckily, you mentioned Sao Paulo, and of course, we know what Sao Paulo is famous for, the Interlagos circuit. Maybe we need some police escorts coming there to just inform that the Grand Prix is around so everyone can take notice from the housing areas that are nearby. So, lovely touch there. And I believe the police here might be onto people's tails. We'll keep an eye out as they come here now. So far, no changes in the timings. It's still Lozano, Reales, and Villarreal, your top three, by about 0.5 of a second, with Para, the only Brazilian on the timing board so far, 1.5 seconds behind. There is Diego Villarreal, and I heard earlier from commentary last time out when we were in live on Saturday, that beard was actually quite thick, and in real life, well, that's a lovely, luscious beard. Yes, quite jealous of it, but that we can't focus on that too much because right now, it looks as though Villarreal has actually backed off a bit, so he might have aborted lap because he saw a couple of cars in front. There it is, traffic just up from the chicane at turn 5. So he's just gapping himself here. That's a good thing to do as well to prevent any problems further up in the lap, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much interference in terms of, of a traffic ahead of you. This is one of those tracks that you normally would think, oh, I'm not going to get any air wash or dirty air in front of me. The only place that you might get dirty air would be, I don't know, turn number 2 and 3, relatively, when you go into... I'm not going to mention the corner names because I know I'm going to butcher them. They are Belgian names. Like, don't get me wrong. I can try to say Sterrenwachtbocht, so I don't know if that's the actual proper name. I know it's a mix of Dutch and Belgian, but anyway. It is a tricky track. I think but it's coming back to the point. Aero wash, you're not going to get into those corners. Even in the chicanes, you can basically follow one guy suit to the other and just catch the draft.
Yeah, and I don't think aero plays a particularly important point here, but you did mention turns 2 and 3, which we do have to kind of look out for because of how the corners are. There is a very high chance that you might just lose balance in the car if you're not confident in how you take that corner. Aside from that, however, I do agree with your point that there is a lot of places that you can overtake and make moves on this track, and it's all up to how confident the drivers are feeling during the actual race.
Certainly, that would be the point, isn't it? To be confident on the throttle. But again, in front-wheel drive cars, as both of you have already mentioned before, it's quite tricky to get back on the throttle when the car's just really sliding out. So we're going to see plenty of that and then some. But having said that, conversely, there are also instances where the cars can be quite chuckable. So interesting to see how the multiple chicanes will play a factor here. As we got news that Rafael has actually left AMX 1 to do AMX 10. So he went up to do the big boy class after this and just left the Renaults for dead. But make no mistake, we still have a competitive field here, as encased by the lap times, because Gerardo Ramos has set a lap time now, 45.3, just 0.3 of a second, 5/10 separating the top four, Lorenzo.
Yeah, so it's a very close time, so I'd like to see where this is going to lead whenever this race starts. Let's see if I think that feel as real time there's going to be a little bit of improvement. It's not going to be from what it looks like. It's not even close. I think that was just a slow lap to get the heat in the tires while we're looking into the number 5 for Renato Parra going around the track. Actually, that is not the number 5 for Renato. That is actually Reales that has just gone around into turn number 3, going to 4.
You can see on board here just how much control is required to keep these cars stable coming through these relatively high speed sections. Also, you do have to consider the fact that these cars will roll a lot compared to the TCR cars, despite having the same drivetrain. You can see here a lot of steering required to get into the chicane and get out safely as well.
There is the Policia Mobile of looks like Renato Parra. It is Renato Parra coming up to the final couple of corners here, coming up to the impossibly named Bobberg Haspelbach hairpin, turn 8, and through the king that's known as Jochen Rinbach. So a few corners here that of course Lorenzo alluded to earlier is quite difficult to mention. So apologies to any of our Belgian viewers here.
We're calling it turn 8 from now on.
Yeah, we'll call it turn 8. But there's a few corners here that are familiar as well, as Parra goes off to the gravel trap. That probably ends his qualifying. There's corners like Jackie Higgs, Lucien Bianchi, relation as well to the late Jules Bianchi. So it's a racing family there as well. And of course, Jochen Ring that we mentioned earlier. So plenty of historic names around the circuit that are related to Belgian and French motorsports. But sadly, also for some tragic reasons as well, especially with the likes of Gilles Villeneuve and Jochen Rin being named here. Of course, Gilles lost his life in this one. For the time being, at least, I don't see any improvements, don't you think,
You do
Lorenzo?
see Ramos actually there. He actually did improve his time by about 1/10 of a second, 1:45.3 flat on the display here. Just maybe a thousandth of a second between those two, but that is the end of, I think that was Villarreal's. Yeah, that was the end of the qualifying. As we get into Heat 1, of course, we go with reverse grid top 15, so whoever set the fastest lap will be starting at the back of the pack.
Yes, indeed. And that is how we play here. But our BenQ session winner is Maurizio Lozano, who's proving to be a specialist in one-lap qualifying as well as in the race, because he's got quite a few fastest laps to his name so far this season. It looks as though he might want to add that to the tally, especially given the fact that he's got the bit between his teeth around the circuit. With behind him, Gerardo Ramos by 2:10. So both of them have quite to come to grips with the car, as well as Marcelo Reales. So 3/10 from the top 3. 4th place, Diego Villarreal. 5th, Renato Parra. 6th, Victor Amoroso. And of course, no time for Marcus Rafael because he's gone over to doing the AMX 10 race. And that will be quite a nice thing to see after this if he could pull that off once we get underway proper.
As we're getting ready to get into the first heat of the race, of course, 20 minutes, going to be driving off. You can see...
Oh, we're off underway, actually. We're underway quickly. So as we were actually going through the little show and tell before the start of the race, but here we are. 5 cars off the line right now with the police up in front. So this is a police escort now with Para in front of Villarreal and Reales. Oh, Lorenzo had a good chuckle there. Lorenzo, why don't you take it away because it's a Brazilian up in front.
Yeah, the question is how long that lead is gonna last, and if Villarreal actually does the overtake, is he going to be fine by doing the overtake?
Still laughing with the police car. Honestly, like, okay, great start from the coming to chicane. Ooh,
Oh, that is a
very
slowdown.
weird line, yeah, coming up there. Para, Para, I think he cut the track there. He might have to slow down for a bit. Then again, the slowdown penalty gives Diego Villarreal time to pass, and as just like that, the front of the pack is now at the back, having to catch up to the rest of the pack.
Yep, and Villarreal so far this season has not won a race. He has a couple of fast laps to his names in the races he has joined, but if he gets a win here, that would be quite a popular one because he is talked about in the chat room below, as well as some of the other drivers involved here. There's Villarreal right now on our screen with a cap and with a beard as well. So he's got the style going on now. Can he truck his way forward and carve himself a win here today? He has competition though. Reales, Lozano only 0.2 of a second behind Reales, and Gerardo Ramos don't count him out as well. We know that this guy can win races too, as Villarreal ducks into the outside here to sort of break the slipstream, or is he getting let by because he probably cut a corner earlier? Well, there goes Reales, and Lozano up in front. Ramos goes for it as well. Ramos, you can't miss him because he's normally running with very striking colors, and there, case in point, a pinkish red yellow car coming through, but Lozano goes around the outside and takes the lead here. Bumps Reales out of the way, Lorenzo.
Yeah, so now the Mexican is on board to try to move up one spot. Now it leaves Reales from the SART team just behind him. His teammate have to do now the job as well to try to keep up with this, the number 5, and everything now is going to get haywire when they come to the backstretch and come to the kind of chicane.
Yep, a very short shoot here. It used to be quite treacherous because they used to install gates here to prevent cars from going off. Now they can just jump over and look at that. The highly sprung cars can just literally leap over the curbs like a bunch of beetles trying to get some dung out of the way. Now, let's see then. Lozano, we're on board Ramos. Down on the inside, hits the back of Reales, and there goes Ramos onto the grass, and he can see he's actually puffing his way out of that one, just clearing up the dust. But Reales, his race is unfortunately really over.
Yeah, quite unfortunate for him, which probably leaves us with just a 4-car pack. Lozano there staying very far ahead, but as we've seen for the past lap, it's only been a lap. First place does seem like a bit of a curse for some of these drivers right now. However, Villarreal and Para are now back into the top 3, each of them trying to get back into the lead. Lozano there, 2.3 second gap, which is a massive one, especially on a track like this where there's not a lot of places to catch up in terms of acceleration.
Indeed, slow areas where you can just group the cars to get a concertina effect, but it looks as though it's been sprung out a bit since their accident, with Villarreal now 2.4 seconds behind Lozano, who's proving our words correct here, because I did mention earlier that how he's fast in qualifying, but he's also fast in races because he's got quite a few fast laps to his name. And there you go, up in front with Para in 3rd place, ready to pounce here. So far, at least, just under a second behind, but what do you think he will overtake, Lorenzo? Because it looks as though he's still got a bit ways to go.
Yeah, he needs, I think, to figure out a way to actually match Villarreal's corners or line a little bit and get within the draft and take advantage of the draft. The Clio doesn't generate a whole lot of draft like you were saying before, but I think it's enough for you to get a kind of like a small run in and line up to a really good setup to a corner. The thing is just try to get it perfectly. So Baja just needs to calm down a little bit, just find his strides, and once everything's just set up the way that he wants, go for an overtake. I would say maybe turn 1 would be the way to go.
We're going to have a replay coming up of the accident that took Reales out of the race earlier. As you can see here, what happened back then.
Yep, here's the BenQ replay. Let's see, Ramos tried to dive on the inside, hits the back of Reales, and unfortunately, it's just no way to go there. Locks up afterwards, but I think he may have carried too much momentum coming through. Goes on to the gravel trap, hops his way out of it just for good measure. And, well, is now about 6 seconds behind Renato Parra. So battle for the podium for some of those guys are pretty much out of the window for the time being, unless something dramatic happens. And between you and I, because we have personally commentated on other races before where we said something, but then something dramatic happens. What do you think is going to happen here? Because it looks as though the field's still quite sprung out.
I mean, I did mention before about the commentator's curse, of course, that we are pretty much the plague bringers of said curses.
Harbinger.
Pretty much. But from what we can see so far, the sector times for Lozano and Villarreal aren't too far apart. Villarreal, of course, actually being faster in the first sector compared to Lozano, who is stronger in the second sector. Villarreal has to put together an amazing lap in order to catch up, and he looks like he has. Of course, he's setting the fastest lap of the race so far. It does have some advantages for being in second. You get to see the lines that the car in front of you is taking. The car in front doesn't really have a guidepost on where to most effectively take corners. Lozano, however, doing a really good job of staying in the lead. 2.5 seconds is the gap, has increased from earlier on.
Yeah, it definitely is looking as though that Lozano's got a bit between his teeth. But having said that, fastest lap does go to Villarreal, 44.7, 5/10 faster than Lozano. And it does go back to Lorenzo's point earlier about trying to get momentum going through the corners and just get that the guy in front of you as close as possible visually. But it looks as though that particular juncture is actually being done well by Gerardo Ramos. He's actually catching up to the back of Renato Parra, and by a rate of knots actually. This sector, this lap alone, 4/10 in sector 3 and 4/10 in sector 4. He gained 8/10 there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Parra making... Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
I want
yeah,
to.
I'll bring it back to you as well. I got caught up in the heat of the moment there because we were talking about sector times right now, and I think maybe Parra had made a few mistakes earlier on in the lap that allowed Ramos to capitalize on the mistakes. You can see right now Ramos is literally breathing down the neck of Parra here.
Yeah, so in
And
my
going
point
back
of view, I think it's kind of interesting. So, my bad. So, just to catch up, I think wondering that is just the lines that Parra is kind of like doing. It's a little bit more conservative lines, you know, not maximizing the entry and the exit out of the corners, while the Spaniard is just maximizing everything that he can get. He's going to line down inside for a dive bomb. No, it just sets up the Brazilian to try to catch him off guard, but Brazilian doesn't fade. Just like a true policeman, he's on the job looking to whoever's around in the track being naughty.
Well, he was doing the police escort there for a second. Now he's going to be the chaser here. As the chase is truly on, he probably cut the chicane one too many times here and is ready to strike behind the back of Ramos again. But he lost a huge amount of time, in fact, almost a second here. And momentum is still eeping away because Ramos has actually pulled up now. Well, truly a 1.2 second gap ahead of Parra. Now it's time for him to actually get his mojo back on.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we haven't really mentioned about this car is how important conservation of momentum is when you're chucking these things around corners, because the moment you lose speed and the car behind you is able to maintain it, you just lose a lot more time compared to faster cars like the TCR ones. Saying that, however, Renato Parra here is slowly losing Ramos here. The gap is extending. You can see Villarreal just going off there. I haven't mentioned anything, but it looks like the curse has gone into full effect right now. Villarreal looking a bit shaky coming into turn 3 right now.
Yeah, it was a little bit squirrely there coming into turn 1, and he was closing in to Lozano by a bit. But I think that sort of momentum that he had earlier, unfortunately, has run out of steam slightly. Now he has to regain all that momentum. Don't you think, Lorenzo?
It makes just slightly more difficult for him to keep up. You can see now Ramos being faster in the first sector alone, just due to that mistake by 1.2 seconds. The thing is just to try to claw away as much time as you can, and probably the Uruguayan feeling the heat a little bit, or like they would say maybe in Uruguay, or in Spanish, is a little bit caliente in the situation right now for all these drivers. So we can definitely see maybe towards the end, I would say lap 9 or give or take, where maybe Ramos would be able to make his strike.
Indeed, and we're already past the halfway point in this race right now. You were pointing at something there, Damon. What were you saying just now about Ramos, or is it Para actually coming closer?
I'm not particularly in trying to find words right now, but it looks like Ramos does seem to be closing the gap a little bit slightly on Villarreal. Villarreal is still a very good Sector 3 right now, able to get a little bit of time back. So this gap between these two drivers right now, not particularly increasing or decreasing at a constant pace. As long as Villarreal doesn't make any more mistakes, I think he'll be able to get this in the bag. We do still have about 4 more laps before the race ends, and Lozano is pretty much just in the dust.
Well, actually, he is out in, despairing like dust after being kicked up. He literally just went out of his way to just punch a hole in the air and then some. But don't discount out any of the other guys to make a difference, especially the fact that quite a few drivers we know can actually win races when the insurmountable odds are stacked against them. Case in point, how Gerardo Ramos has actually done it in the past in previous seasons. As, we got a few comments including European Heisenberg, I think. We're laughing at that. We all know what we're referring to. And Lorenzo's laughing as well. I think we all watched enough of Breaking Bad to know what that reference is.
It's great to have live chat.
Yeah.
Don't really get to see live chat when we were doing our own races. But of course, aside from that, Ramos is still trying to close the gap as much as possible. We do have to take into account that after this race, the grid will be reversed, so Reales will have a chance to eke it out in Heat 2. For the time being, I think he'll have to be content with the position that he's in right now, because it doesn't seem like there's a way for him to catch up unless he puts on the drive of his life within the next 4 laps.
Certainly, but 3.6 seconds looks a bit too far here. But even weirder things have happened when drivers have a big lead and drop it. And gonna try to pick your brains a bit here, Lorenzo. Have you ever been in a race where the guy was up in front, thought, okay, it's going to be a bit too difficult, I'm going to set back, but suddenly the opportunity does present itself?
Oh, many times. I think, especially a few times even at Zolder, where I thought, oh, okay, I'm giving up on this race. Like, I start the race, lap 1, I get sent all the way to the back, and I'm like, oh, okay. This is going to be one of those races just going to be pure pain. And Zolder is one of the tracks I know drivers have a love-hate relationship, because it's a track that it's technical, and people kind of hate that might be technical, but love the fact that you can still have some overtakes in battles. Like, you can follow the driver one another, as there you go. Almost, I swear to God, I never seen someone light up a cigar or a cigarette in the middle of the broadcast. This is the first, so I am, I don't know, enthralled, or I am, happy? Can I say something like that? With scenes like that, but it's interesting. So it's one of those things. It's hard for you to find an opportunity, but sometimes this is one of the tracks that it easily can present itself without even question.
Considering the fact that he is just like smoking while driving, I think that thing may have given him superpowers, because he's actually set the fastest lap in the race so far, 144, when every other driver is doing 145. So I think it's like Popeye's spinach for him.
Yes, it does give him a bit of superpowers here, and really, he is gaining big time here. Last time out was a 44.9 for Ramos, Villarreal 45.4, so 0.5 of a second faster. Now, everyone's favorite AMX 1 racer is showing what he's made of here. He's giving himself a few huffs and puffs to just go up to the front here. And Lorenzo, I think with someone having the bit between his teeth here, with other stuff that gets him faster, it's really a nice feeling to have, isn't it? That you know that you can chase up to the guy in front, but overtaking is a different matter though.
Yeah, overtaking there's a famous commentary quote, like, catching up is one thing, overtaking is a whole other ball game. So, of course, it's not the precise one, but it is basically what it is. So it's going to be kind of not hard for him to catch up, but Villarreal is making some key mistakes. Look at Sector 1. I think Sector 1 was nearly 0.6 of a second faster, but at the line going to Sector 1. So I think he's slightly entertained, but slightly pressure with the fact that you have an Argentinian smoking individual breathing down your neck.
They might be doing a little bit of banter in the Zoom call right now. You can see they're probably talking to each other, I think, on the ping. Coming up behind, Ramos actually made the gap less than a second up until that point. Did extend it a little bit now, but I think Villarreal is definitely feeling the pressure. You can see the lines he's taking seems to be a little bit wide in some places, giving Ramos even more time to catch up.
Yep. And to go back to what Lorenzo said just now, it was actually catching up is one thing, but overtaking is another. And you're not wrong on that. It's paraphrased, but it's actually mostly correct. And that was said by the late, great Murray Walker, who used to commentate in English-speaking countries. But I'm impressed that a lot of his commentary has made it overseas into territories that don't speak English predominantly. So it's quite nice to hear that quote actually said. But I will try to bring some Galva Bueno quotes, of course, if I've heard some. Especially if it Brazilian wins, I think he might be...
At a time.
Ah, nice. So I might try to bring up a quote if a Brazilian crosses the line and win, but you just wait for that as well, Lorenzo. You might be pleased to hear it.
Oh, minus half a second.
Yeah.
Ramos and Villarreal here. Coming up into, I think this is turn 5.
Yep. Sorry, Lorenzo, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think this is where he's going to make his overtaking opportunity make.
Yeah, coming out to the back straight right now. I think this is turn 6, the chicane. Will he be able to make a move? He tried one last time. Didn't really work out for him as coming in at Villarreal actually took that wide quite light. Ramos is going to seize the opportunity. Who doesn't seem to be able to catch up to the speed right now. I think he may have not done the exit very well. And the gap does extend again, but Ramos is actually breathing down Villarreal's neck. And let's go. We're going back to Lorenzo. Coming up with your thoughts right now as we're coming into the second to last lap of the race.
Yeah, so I think Villarreal's life just got a little bit easier given the fact that Ramos just decided to hop over the curb and of the second half of the chicane and just got to slow down. I don't think that was a very punishable slowdown. That was right about a 9/10 of a second to full second. You're gonna see here on the long stretch losing over a second, Ramos, but that is catchable. 1 second is completely catchable with one lap to go.
Well, let's see if he can actually do that because across the line goes Lozano for the final time. White flag flies as Mauricio Lozano then, who we thought had the fastest lap of the race, now it belongs to Gerardo Ramos. He's got a bit between his teeth, catching up to the back of Diego Villarreal, but unfortunately, with that slight mistake, with cutting the corner a bit too many, he's lost a bit of that early momentum at the start of the previous lap to catch up to the back of Villarreal. But having said that, he's back within a second here. So this is definitely going to be one last chance here. He could try to do one at the hairpin, but he needs to be very close. And certainly, Damon, this might just be his last lap to make any difference here.
Yeah, Ramos is almost really close enough to be in the draft of Villarreal here. Coming up to, I think this is the chicane coming up. Will he be able to get it through without incident? Villarreal catching a bit of air there. Ramos is still closing the gap between these two drivers right now, but whether or not he'll be able to actually make a move remains to be seen. Coming into the last half of the lap right now, Lozano way far in front, probably is his race to take now, but the battle for second place is heating up just before the end.
Yep, certainly we're going to see what is Ramos going to do here. He did have a botched overtake at the start of the race that took out Marcelo Reales, so he's probably not going to think of doing it again. A slight mistake there from Villarreal, but looks a bit locks up coming out of turn 8 as Lozano is probably coming through the final corner. We're going to see, there we go, picture in picture, as I said it, race winner Mauricio Lozano, even though it's a bit premature to call it before he crossed the line, but no doubt he's going to be safely coming through, as Ramos then looks as though he did not make the move into the inside, into the chicane. 4/10 of a second is going to be the difference. Across the line goes Lozano, and Villarreal hangs on for P2. Another podium, but the win is still eluding him. We're waiting for the rest of the field then. Renato Parra, there he is in the Sao Paulo police car coming through in P4, and Marcelo Reales rounding out the field here in P5. Well, it was a slow burner, wasn't it? We had an exciting start, but towards the end it was getting a bit exciting, but now we're going to flip the script on his head. It might just be a case of the same thing here, Lorenzo.
No, absolutely. The only big difference is the fact that, we see Lozano over here being the winner of this race. I think now the the whole pressure shifts on them to catch up to Reales. Reales is not a slow driver, like I said before. He's a TCR specialist, so we expect him to, pick up the car. And once he picks up the pace, I think it gets harder for others to overtake. So this race one was kind of good. Of course, had its few shares of door bangs and excitements, but now Heat 2 is where I think it's all going to pick up once again and become a lot hotter.
Certainly, and Reales now in a prime position up in front. He'll definitely try to make the most of this, and hoping that there will be no collisions again coming into the chicane or wherever the choke point is going to be. As we're on board now with race one winner, Heat 1 winner Mauricio Lozano. A bit calm here. Now the revs go up, lights are on, and green flag here. We're underway for the second time in Heat number 2 at Zolder. It looks as though Lozano's actually got off to a decent start, gets blocked a bit by Gerardo Ramos coming to turn number 1, goes around the outside with Renato Parra coming out to P2 behind Reales. So Reales has got the start he got the whole shot coming through the first couple of corners as we see Villarreal Lozano resuming some battles that he had at the start of the first heat, but it looks as though it's a clean start from all 5 drivers off the line, and by the looks of it, it's still not over yet coming into the chicanes.
Into the back straight right now as they're coming up to the very big chicane. You can see all of them are in the draft right now. Just see which car decides to break it. Ramos tries to make a move onto Parra here. This is another slide attempt there. He actually I think he span out Parra a little bit there, but he takes second place. And Parra hasn't been a good couple of heats for this guy. He has now stuck back in at the bottom of the pack.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the most wanted list now in both Brazilian Policia and the Interpol watch list, as looks as though once again a chicane and another incident, and also in this instance as well, Lorenzo, another incident involving Gerardo Ramos.
Yeah, I think it is just one similar to what happened to Reales, but the difference is that with Reales was basically a late braking back hit from Ramos towards Reales into the second chicane. Here you go side by side into the Clio chicane, and unfortunately the Brazilian just didn't have the line on the exit to keep it straight, and on the exit, door to door, the car is not stable, the car goes spinny, so nothing that the Brazilian Policial can actually do to dash away from that instance.
Certainly, and I thought he was just going to firewall the throttle, just going to plow it, and the car was straightened out, but unfortunately maybe the rear end has stepped out way too much to prevent that from happening. And now looks as though Ramos is still in P2, but pursued intensely by Villarreal and Parra. So let's see then if Gerardo Ramos can actually just puff his way up to the front like he did in the first heat. He's not smoking the blunt this time around, but he's certainly having quite a few people for company. And don't discount Renato Parra as well. He could probably just wheel his way back in here as the cars bounce over the curb. And looks as though Reales, yeah, Lorenzo, go ahead.
No, Reales got to slow down by cutting the corner way too deeply on the second half, like we've seen time and time before.
And it was enough to slow him into now P3. What do you think about Villarreal's chances here, Damon?
Oh, Villarreal, if he can tighten up his lines when he goes through the track, as we can see near the end of the last heat, his lines weren't exactly as tidy as the rest of the pack, which gave Ramos time to catch up to him. But if he can tighten it up and keep it steady as well, I think he does have a pretty good chance. Reales does seem to be able to make a mistake. I think that chicane in particular is quite difficult on these cars because you really can't judge how much you can actually cut, especially when you're under pressure like Reales was. Having to concede 2 positions as well isn't going to be great for him. But of course, we have to see right now, Lozano, will he be able to make it a second?
Certainly, and we're going to see a full-screen replay again as per what happened in the first heat just now with that start. In fact, this is going to be a replay with Ramos and Parra. As you can see there, probably a 50-50, maybe 60-40 towards Ramos, because he actually was not fully alongside. Maybe he was slightly more alongside because door handle to door handle, but the collision might have been inevitable there. Don't you think, Damon?
Yeah, I think so. Basically, Ramos decided to go as straight as possible because Para that was stuck on the outside. He tried to turn in, but there was a car that already there on his line, so he ended up getting tapped, pit maneuvered, and then ended up spinning out. So unlucky for his particular instance. We're gonna have to evaluate whether or not that was a racing incident or a penalty would be served. Regardless, however, Ramos is in first place, and Lozano is hot on his heels, as the rest of the pack.
Yep, with Villarreal rounding up that particular pack. And again, going back to Villarreal, Lorenzo, how does it feel like to be in the back of this particular queue, knowing that race leader is just within grasp, but you also want to mind yourself not to be involved in any incidents?
I think furthermore, we have to be noticing the fact that Ramos just had the fastest lap of the race, and he completely obliterated the lap that we had on heat 1. That was a 44.6, if I remember correctly, on the first race. This second one is a 44.3, and he shows no signs of slowing down. So it's a good battle nevertheless, but I think Villarreal needs to pick up the pace a little bit more if he wants to fight for that top 3.
Yep, and he held on quite well for P2 in front of Ramos that time around. But Ramos, as well, as you pointed out, he was the fastest lap holder in that first heat as well. So he certainly knows how to get his way around the track in this car combination. But we didn't really think he would be up in front here that easily, especially given the fact that we had likes of Lozano, Villarreal also just as fast as him. But here we are now, Ramos showing what he's worth here. That time around, though, it's even Stevens through the 5 sectors between himself and Lozano there, Damon.
Yeah, they're not really conceding any time between each other. Less than a second separates these two, and then another 7/10 separate Reales from Lozano here. So this is a pretty intense battle. We're about 4 laps into the race right now. Ramos is trying his best to extend the lead. Hasn't seemed to be able to find an opportunity to do so just yet. Hopefully we'll be able to capitalize on maybe a mistake coming out for the other drivers. Villarreal, I think he just lost the draft, and now he's stuck at the back 2 seconds behind the rest of the top 3. Probably won't be able to catch up unless he has a great drive right now. But okay, we're going to talk about the man of the hour here, Lozano. Reales is hot on his heels right now. Might look to see if he can make a move coming into these next set of corners right now. Reales, less than 4/10. We're on board with him right now as we're coming into out of turn 8 into the final straight just before the next lap begins. Will he be able to make a move? Probably not in this particular position, but we're gonna have to see. Oh! I just cursed it, Lozano. I think lost control of the car there, having to concede the position. Ended up cutting the track quite a bit. Now, Lorenzo, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what you said. Lozano just weighing too deep into the line of the final corner, to the final chicane, and completely. You even saw the back end lose a little bit. I think just to keep it straight and avoid any half spin or a full spin. Lozano just decided to take the scenic route and go into the rally cross line. And if there's actually one, I don't know. I had never seen one in Zolder, but that worked and got the slowdown. And the important thing is the Mexican still within the toe of the Argentinian.
We're going to look at a replay of what happened to Lozano in that particular corner. Whether he lost control of the car right now, you can see he just slightly shaking on the exit. Didn't get the line he wanted on the entry. Ended up going way too wide there, missing the apex, and then turned in too early for the second part of the chicane. Ended up cutting the track.
Yeah, I
didn't lose control of his car, of course.
Yeah, but I think it just goes back to the point that Lorenzo made just now, that he was missing that corner. He had to cut it either way so that it could prevent the car from either spinning out or losing more time. So he minimized that damage to a certain extent. He still has Reales in his sights, but he's going to have to watch out his rear now, with Villarreal only about 0.8 of a second behind the Mexican, as it's a Spanish-speaking 1, 2, 3, 4 right now, with the best of the Portuguese in 5th place, with Renato Barra in the Policia Sao Paulo car, though unfortunately 11 seconds behind. So he'll probably just settle for that. Happy to get it, but we'll have to wait for another championship after this to see a Brazilian in contention for the fight. But regardless, we still have a race on our hands here. Ramos, Reales, Lozano, and Villarreal, your top 4 here, and separated by about 3.5 seconds by our estimate here, with Villarreal the fastest of the three in this particular comparison, is Lorenzo.
Yeah, and most importantly, the lap times are very dead accurate and nearly that similar. Despite Villarreal off the floor being the fastest one this lap, in comparison to everybody, 44.5 is the lap for the Uruguayan. The Maxine doing a 44.962. The Real is doing 44.9 as well, but slightly faster by 0.6 of a second nearly. And Ramos 44.82. So everybody dead equal in terms of speed. That's why we're seeing kind of like this stalemate between of who goes up and who goes down in the standings.
Certainly, and at the time being, it's a deadlock so far. Ramos is the fastest of the guys in this particular lap. His sector times is split indicated that 38.6 compared to Reales is slightly slower, 38.6 by about 4 thousandths. Although having said that, is Lozano who's actually faster now at 38.5 and 38.7. So it looks as though it's heading to be even Stevens between the second, third, and fourth place cars, with Ramos then making a beeline for it up in front, 2 seconds ahead. So if these guys battle, that's actually going to play into Ramos' hands, and he's just going to streak away, Damon.
Yeah, and I think for the story of this race for the past 2 heats has always been turn 6, that big chicane there. It's very hard to get that right all the time, and eventually a mistake will happen here. As you can see, Lozano is less than 3/10. He might try to make a move on Reales here, coming into turn 1. Turn 2 and turn 3, very important for these cars. You're going to have to find a way to conserve as much momentum as you can while trying to overtake that. You can see that Reales tapping the brakes just to lower his speed enough to make that corner safely right now. Coming into turn 3, Lozano is still hot on the heels. We've got about 4 laps left in the race. Into turn 4 right now, still in the draft. This long straight will probably decide whether or not he makes a move at turn 5 right now. You can see, still in the draft. Very, very quickly catching up. Hasn't been able to make a move yet. Reales is under some pressure right now. Lozano, again, taking that chicane is a pretty tricky situation for all of these drivers. Sometimes you just don't get it right and it costs you the race.
Yeah, I wonder where he will make the move, Lorenzo, because I think the chicane may not be maybe a no-go, because we saw how Reales got taken out last time out. He probably will try to happen, don't you think?
I would estimate yes, or if he gets a really good exit out of this corner, maybe on the hairpin, if Reales doesn't fight back, actually puts a fight, goes down the inside. So here comes the pink car Lozano through the outside. He gets a small grip on the exit if he wants to. That will lead him to the final chicane. But the Argentinian is putting up a massive fight, and Lozano's race to lose right now in terms of positions.
And in terms of positions to lose, he's actually gained a position on Reales there. Brilliant maneuver coming into the final chicane. Ducked on the inside. Reales didn't put too much in flight, because, as we all know, front-wheel drive cars, if you go narrow and brake hard, you're going to lock up and go off the track. So Reales played it smart there and tried to fight back the next corner, which he does. He forces Lozano to actually go narrow, but brakes just in time to actually stall the momentum that the Argentine probably had coming to turn 1. And there we go, the Mexicans up to P2, but only just ahead of Villarreal, ahead of Reales, with Villarreal watching brief there, a further 1.3 seconds behind Reales, Damon.
Yeah, and of course, Lozano actually really brave on the brakes there, out-braking Reales to make that pass happen. Very great move from him. But the battle's not over yet. Reales is still hot on the heels. He's also in the draft. Will he be able to make a revenge overtake right now? You can see really close to the bumper. Again, the chicane is just so much action, particularly in that particular sector. Just because these cars catch air, you don't know whether they'll be able to maintain control or whether they'll lose too much momentum and then concede a position, as we've seen already a couple of times before this. So I'm really excited to see about 3 laps left. Lozano is extending the gap right now. And I don't know how to call it, because it does seem like this fight is no longer over. And Ramos is still in front of the pack. So I don't know how to call it. So I think I'll just let Lorenzo make a prediction.
Ooh. Normally, don't leave predictions with me because, like you guys, you're saying that you know a way around the commentary curse, right? Normally, I call myself the Emperor of Yellow Flags around my other broadcasting group that I normally do commentaries as well. But one of the commentators, King, Curses King. So everything is possible. I would estimate that Reales can actually pull that move off on the final lap. He's cooked. Meanwhile, there you go, Ramos. I don't know if that was his girlfriend, from what it looks like his girlfriend or wife, giving a little bit of a good luck kiss on the forehead, or that shiny bald head of the Spaniard.
Yeah, it's kind of like when bringing out the 1998 World Cup final where Laurent Blanc was kissing Fabien Barthez in the head every single time that France won. That was probably the kind of good luck thing that he was hoping for, wasn't it? Because he is really actually getting a bit of a giddy up there. 4.1 seconds ahead of Lozano now as he is engaging in a battle with Reales. 4/10 to the good between himself and the Argentine, with Villarreal still watching brief there, 1.1 seconds, and we will hold that bet, that prediction that you were saying there, Lorenzo, because he's going to move on the last lap. Let's see. That will provide some fireworks.
It would. Also, I have a question to you both. If you get a kiss on the forehead, would that give you like a 0.2 of a second advantage per lap, or a 3-second advantage of a second advantage per lap?
I think it depends on how passionate the kiss is.
Well, obviously you can't do that well.
Makes sense.
No, okay. All right. That will go into very dangerous territory, but I would say it's a nice little motivation thing to do. So, it's instead of a pep talk, it's a pep on the head.
That's terrible.
True.
That's bad.
Anyway, passion. That's the right word to put it. And speaking of passion, there is the passionate two drivers out on track fighting each other here for an extra $1 on the track. $5 to 4. Second place on the line here between Maurizio Lozano and Marcelo Reales, with Diego Villarreal behind both of them here, still watching brief, and will hold on to here that prediction that Lorenzo made with a last lap overtake from Reales. Let's see if that will be the case. But for the time being, he's hanging on to the slipstream, not through the chicane. That's not an overtaking spot. Again, I think the best way is that the slow chicane through turn 6 or the hairpin at turn 8, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I think either one of those corners work. You can even try to make it work down here, but you go into the danger areas of grabbing a slowdown, especially at the exit of the chicane. So it's a little bit of a give or take. So looking to Reales, maybe it's slight brake, a little lift, try to carry as much speed as you can carry to the inside, and then carry that speed towards the outside and maximize the draft run towards the final chicane as they open up the final lap.
Yeah, Ramos here about to cross the line for the final lap here. Lozano and Reales still locked in the battle, but because of his battle, they both are being slowed down and giving time for Villarreal to catch up as well. He's now less than half a second behind both cars. So this might just be a three-way battle for second place.
Certainly, and you can see there, white flag flies. Ramos has crossed the line 4 seconds ahead of Lozano, with Reales and Villarreal right behind him here. So, looks like we have to add to that particular prediction. Now we have Villarreal coming into the fight, only about 0.6 of a second behind Reales. I cannot see how this way goes, because we just have to keep on talking as it happens. Only one of those guys will try to break rank and force a change to the status quo, Damon.
Yeah, and right now we're about, this is just exiting turn 3 right now. And of course, moment of truth will probably be the chicane again. As you can see there, nice lines coming after that. Oh, they've got the hang of it this time. They're not making any more mistakes on the chicane. They've already suffered enough, as Reales is still trying to make a move. Not sure when it will happen. At this rate, it might just end up being Lozano just holding on to that position all the way until the end. It's very hard to find opportunities right now if you're not at the slower sections.
Certainly, there's only one corner left to go, and that's the hairpin at turn 8. We're on board with Reales. Is he going to make one last big dive into the final sector here. We're up to the bumper. Lozano, no way through. Brakes are lighting up between all three cars, but it looks as though only the chicane left at the final corner, and that's it. That'll be Reales' last chance of making any sort of inroads here for second place. Ramos negotiates the final two corners safely as he now comes across the line to take victory here at Zolder, and that will be his second race win of the season here. He'll be definitely happy with that one. But across the line goes Lozano in front of Reales. So Reales then has probably cut the chicane one too many there into P5. P2 3 goes. Villarreal stays in fourth place. He didn't really want to challenge too much and jeopardize all three of them. But it's Gerardo Ramos smiling here. And, well, what a legend he is. He was smoking the blunts in the races and getting a pep on the head for good measure to get extra power across the line. And he's done so in spades. Well, to get the closing thoughts here, Lorenzo, what do you think of that race?
It was a fun race. It was very entertaining. Of course, probably we wanted to see maybe Paja trying to come up and battle with these guys at some point. I think he would be able to keep up with the draft had he not have gotten the slowdown in the incident at turn one. As we see now, Gerardo Ramos right there is actually happy with his performance, and Reales grabbing the fastest lap of the race, which is, if I recall correctly, 44.715, which is the best lap of the race for the Argentinian.
Yep, you're bang on the money there. And only about 15 hundredths of a second in front of Ramos. So not much of a difference in between the both of them to get an extra $1 for the fastest lap. But Ramos certainly happy with his day's work. And well, I said it's his second win of the season. Is actually his first. I was actually reminded from last season how he actually got from a comeback win to storm his way up to the front here. But regardless, he will be happy with the $7 he's got here in front of Lozano, Reales, Villarreal, and Renato Parra, with Amorosa and Rafael will be actually seeing in MX10 right after this. And vibing on to the nice tunes in the background. Really nice house music that we have in behind the production, behind the scenes. Now then, so, well, we asked Lorenzo what's his thoughts on the race just now. Damon, what are you going to give out for that particular as well? Especially Heat 2 was more frenetic.
Well, considering that it's 3 a.m. where we are right now, I think that race it's actually wake me up for a bit. I think I'm ready for the next one.
Certainly, an AMX 10 will definitely be one of those chaotic ones, especially with TCRs. And Lorenzo, I think you'll be looking forward to that one as well.
I do. I think the track fits TCRs perfectly. A race that keeps on giving for everybody, and it's basically a track that has a lot of history, especially in F1. So looking forward to see what the Spanish track has us in store in a little bit.
Absolutely. We'll be looking forward to that one in earnest in about half an hour's time. But before then, you can also just log on to our socials below. It's AMX.Global on Instagram and all of our social media channels, Twitch, Twitter, Discord. You can actually see some of the messages that are coming from the drivers live. You can basically interact with them so you can have a bit of character background lore to the drivers out on track. And of course, we're live on YouTube alongside Twitch. Register to race in the championship via our website, amxrace.com. And for some of the short form content that's going to be seen, that's on TikTok as well. So that wraps it up for AMX1. A quite good race from both heats, but we'll be looking forward to TCRs after this at the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto coming after this. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a few messages from our sponsors and a bit of a short break.
I'm ready for more power, baby.
to save our home. We must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
Well, hello then, and welcome back to AMX Global Series Season 4. This is race 11 for the AMX 10 Front-Wheel Drive Championship. Although it is a circuit that has its own characteristics of extremes historically and in its way of its layout as well. Welcome to Jerez de la Frontera here, the circuit de Jerez Angel Nieto, named after the World 125cc champion, the late great Angel Nieto here, the TCR class. Hello then from Amir, alongside me Damon, and on the other side of the screen is Lorenzo, and we're delighted to welcome you here to what could promise to be one of the most entertaining classes of cars out on track here, because the last few broadcasts I've did with TCRs have all been absolute bangers, and I have no doubt here that it will provide another one. Lorenzo, I think because you've raced in some TCR cars as well, we said off the broadcast that some people took a lot of time to research what kind of cars they have. It's kind of evident here that one make of car is quite popular.
Yeah, which is the Audi. I think we're going to see a field of Audis. Audis on the quick setup is literally the best car and is not even by a close margin compared to the Elantra or the Veloster or the Civic. It is just a car that normally, drags. It has speed. It has corners. So it's a car that it is the popular car of choice. Is the chef's menu, if you want to call it that, at TCR. So we have one Elantra, which is driven by Alexei Nesov. So we have variations, but it's mostly a monotonous race in the Audis.
Indeed. It's a chef's kiss, as they call it, for the car of choice. In this case, we'll get to your opinions on the class after this, Damon, but we'll get the first things first, housekeeping out of the way to find out what's what, and then we go into the nitty-gritty afterwards. So, this is the overview for AMX Global League Season 4. Runs from 27th January to the 21st of April. A prize pool, as per usual, like in previous seasons, $20,000 plus next level racing gear, racing on a variety of cars and tracks across the entire season. And the format, of course, we've probably been acquainted to it by now. A slight change from previous seasons where normally it was a sprint qualifying, but this time slightly longer, 20 minutes for qualifying. Then we flip the script, turn it on its head, top 15, reverse grid, a 20-minute first heat, then reverse the results from that first heat into the second heat, and another 20 minutes on the board. So prize amounts for every game, standing same for every season, plus with a bit of extras along the way, which we will get into the next page. And case in point here, driver cams are required for both AMX 1 and AMX 10, but even more so the fact that this is also for AMX 10 that we had mandatory for the last couple of seasons. Balances are paid out of 100 ringgit out to each month, with races going on every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, which you can sign up anytime at amxrace.com.
I think you mean dollars.
Sorry, dollars. Got a little bit dopey there for a second. But schedule now GMT, and it's the same for all the regions here because we had different schedules at one point. Now it's all homogenized. 5:50 p.m. on Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays for AMX 1, and for AMX 10, 7:20 p.m. So now we know each of the schedules for everybody to race on. At least it will be easier now to not have anyone confused with sometimes different time zones, especially given the fact that, for example, the US has about 4 different time zones. The race prize pool for AMX 10 is different from AMX 1, and this is what they have all to play for. $30 for the fastest time in qualifying, all the way to just $2 in 15th. When we flip the script on its head, it'll be the same reward as well, but with an added bonus of $4 for the fastest lap, and then some, with a minimum I rating required of 2,000. So we will have some of the best drivers on the platform in iRacing here, and the total going up to $500 per race. And of course, cameras will be required as well. We can see every single driver's reaction and opposite reaction to anything that happens. And so off to the leaderboard now. This is our AMX 10 top 12, completely different as well compared to the AMX 1 that we had just now. Guy Valero, having raced 10 times throughout the entire season, has won a total of $424 for all his troubles here, having despite winning one race, which is of course the total including the Heat 1 and Heat 2 results, in front of Aaron Vasquez, his closest rival and chief driver to be putting beside Guy Valero as the two protagonists in the TCRs. But unfortunately Vasquez is not here today by the looks of it, but no doubt about it, the other guy that we'll be watching out for is Kieran Harrison as well, third place in that list. And the big improvement is Dino Felipe, 2 places up with $270 on the board. And going through the rest of the field, we have the likes of Jackson Resende, a fellow Brazilian, which no doubt Lorenzo would be looking out for and supporting in earnest if he was to be joining in the very last minute. And all the way up to Simon De Mori, who has raced 7 times and won himself about $156. Not a bad way to earn a living here, doing sim racing. Now we head over to the other part of the housekeeping. This is the current promotion that we have here coming for AMX Season 4. D3 promotion, purchase entry fee 3 days before the race and get about 30% off pertaining to all the races in Season 4. With the other promotion being Season DC tickets, where you will have a season entry available for purchase. These tickets are for each class up to a total of 6, with 50% off all the races of the purchase class, aka AMX 1 or AMX 10, whichever tickles your fancy. Now then, with that bit out of the way, we can actually safely go to the track and car combo that we're going to be racing here today for AMX 10. And we're going to go off to Lorenzo first, then Damon, starting with the track in question.
All right, so let's talk about the motorcycle driver, which is Angel Nieto, 13 times world champion. Is one of the premier track venues in the Spanish country alongside Barcelona, Jarama, Ricardo Tormo, and other tracks that they have in Spain. Due to the south of Spain, it was founded and conceived in 1985. In December of 1985, it boasts a track length of 4,428 kilometers, 15 corners around the Spanish track, with mainly the first track being a ride uphill from turn 1, and then it's all the way downwards to turn 6, the dry sack hairpin, which then sets mostly the flat portion of Jerez. It has a DNA of motorcycling, being home of the World Superbike, Spanish, and MotoGP. But in 1986 through 1990, it hosted the Grand Prix in F1, the Spanish Grand Prix, in 1994-1997, the European Grand Prix, which we saw in 1997, Villeneuve winning the title after colliding with Michael Schumacher during the race. For touring cars, I think this turn 1 to turn 6 is where you're going to be seeing the most action, and the second half is going to be mostly truncated due to the mostly slow mid corners, and turn 11 being splinted, which is the fast right-hander, into a chicane, which is now named after the 3 times world champion Ayrton Senna. Trivia moment for you guys. In 2008, Champ Car was due to run in that Spanish circuit, but that never happened since they merged with Indy Cars. Imagine driving the Panos DP1 around the Spanish track. What scenes we would have seen around that track?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see the likes of Elio Castroneves and Tony Kanaan race here in the Unified IndyCar Series because they never made the trip to Europe afterwards. But more about that later. Now we're off to the car class that we're racing here, Damon.
Yeah, we are racing in the TCR class. These are high aero, high performance beasts, front wheel drive, about 350 horsepower, weighs around 1,200 to 1,500 kilograms. Although, based on what we see on the grid so far, it's not really cars that we're going to be talking about. It's one car in particular, which is of course the Audi RS3 LMS TCR. There are a lot of things that haven't already been said regarding this car. It outdrags, it's got great aero. We do have one particular driver driving, of course, the Hyundai Elantra TCR car, the only one of the pack of Audis. So I think we're going to have ourselves a one-make race this time around.
Well, almost a one-make race, about 96.7% of it at least. But as we can see on the screen, the offerings from Hyundai, both having the cars of choice here, the Elantra and the Veloster, with the Elantra being the most popular of the two. And surprise, surprise, also for me, it's a car that I drove here to come into the commentary box because it's a Hyundai i30, but it's a cousin to the Veloster. But never mind about that, about personal anecdotes. We're going to go straight into the action for qualifying here, and we'll definitely have plenty more to talk about as the field now stream through, halfway through in qualifying. In fact, we're already 10 minutes in, and it looks as though Lorenzo, a lot of these guys are already on for their second runs.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. Whenever you have open qualifiers with TCR, there's one thing is we're gonna see like left, right, up, and down as you see the run down from Curva Sitio Ponsnem after the 2 times world motorcycling champion. Now you're going to Drysack, which is actually named after Dani Pedrosa, which is also a 3-time world champion in motorcycling in the MotoGP. But more importantly, it is the train of TCRs following one another. You want to be within the draft of one another to try to get the most performance. We can look into Gael Valero's perspective, trying to ride into most of he can actually do into turn 10 and 9 and 10, and then set up to 11, but he completely gives up.
And you can see there a bit of a shake on the head for him because he thought that, well, he could make a break for it, but unfortunately the traffic was just too much, and puff of the cheek, he was a bit exasperated by that. Now he has to warm his tires again, as conversely we see Dino Filippa almost at the sharp end of the run here, ready to just line one up for qualifying, but he's got cars for company front and back. So Damon, not the best way to do it. In fact, there you go, just as I said it, case in point, cars front and back in a whole train.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for these guys to set a time that they'll be happy with during qualifying. Of course, some of them might choose to slow down in order to get some clean air, be able to set great times. But so far, Gael Valero, pretty close position, pretty close in front with 151.774, and Guinness, also another Frenchman, not very far behind, only about 300ths of a second.
Yep, and very close at the front. In fact, 300ths of a second, less than 300ths of a second separating Valero and Guinness, the two Frenchmen up in front, with Filippa another 4,000ths behind Guinness in third place. Kieran Harrison, a further 1,000. Wow. If you look at the gaps there, Lorenzo, that is one scary field. And we saw like that last week in Laguna Seca, how it was crazy packed.
Yeah, it's insane. That's the thing about TCRs. We're gonna see these times being close to one another. More importantly, it's gonna be interesting to see if the CMRC drivers of Corentin Guinness, Kieran Harrison was at the top of the board in practice, which I think is something to be noticeable about. But Guinness is a master in TCRs. Kieran Harrison is a savant on the TCRs. Gael Valero, I highly regard as one, if not one of the 3 best TCRs drivers in the world today, running active, even though he doesn't do competitions nowadays active for the AMX Racing team. So it's interesting to see this matchup of, clash of giants, clash of titans around a track like this, which we normally don't see TCRs driving in a track like this, but it's always good, and qualifying will be wide open to everybody.
Certainly well said there. And speaking of wide open affair, look at that, the times are tumbling here. Harrison, Fabi, Verone taking turns going into the front of the grid, but it looks as though Harrison has the time that is really going to be setting shivers for everyone's minds. Almost a clear 2/10 ahead of Fabi there, with Verone in third, a couple of tenths behind as well. So Gonzalo Fabi, Nicolas Verone, and Dino Filippa form the Argentine Armada in second, third, and fourth, with the Western Europeans other than Harrison, Gael Valero in fifth place here, with, by looks of it, a couple of drivers trying to take the sting out of that particular run, go off the golf line bit, save their tires, and probably go for another one, Damon.
Yeah, they've still got about 5.5 minutes before the end of qualifying, but I think they're going to be pretty happy. Top 3, of course, are going to be really happy with the times they set. Right? Nothing stopping them from going even further beyond in terms of performance, right? So it's all a matter of whether or not they want to try and go for the fastest lap, or maybe conserve a little bit and then get a better starting position for the start of the race later on.
You're right to point that out, because of course top 15 will be flipped on its head, and at this point in time, even Tobias Serrano, who is not out on track, or rather he is out on track, but he has not set a lap time just yet, will be probably thinking about whether or not he could try to set a lap time at least to start on pole there. But again, qualifying is another thing, the race is another, and for the likes of Marcos Rafael and Pedro Dean and Fabio Zamplini, talking about your fellow countrymen, they might be just thinking of the exact same thing, isn't it? They're actually not at the sharp end, but they will be at the sharp end come race time.
Yeah, they're going to be in the sharp end. This is a good thing to see, and but it's like it's not their bread and butter. I would say this is more Zampellini's bread and butter because he drives more of these cars. Dean is a more open wheel base driver, while I would say Refil is a more GT base driver. Well, not saying they're slow, but if you have to give a favorite, it's going to be them. Meanwhile, you can look into the number 10, which is the driver of Nicolas Vahon, now driving for Obsidian Racing. He was, you guys were seeing the YouTube chats. Yeah, he's actually a world champion. He's the Le Mans, he's the FIA WEC GTM world champion. Now he drives nowadays, I think, for AF Corsa Indy LMP2s. Of course, the season is yet to start, but he's now going to be driving the Le Mans 24 with the AF Corsa 100%.
Wow, we talk about the star-studded list of names. We had quite a few Stock Car Brazil drivers taking part in a couple races before, so now we have a proper GT guy here, showing how that, well, sim racing and real racing, he can handle the best of both worlds. And for the likes of, the likes of Harrison, Guinness, and Valero, they might be watching over the mirrors here thinking that, well, this guy might be behind for now, but they're gonna have to go up to the back of his rear after this to overtake. Let's see then. We have a few comments coming through about TCR being their favorite and why is it Hyundai for some. That will be a question directed to Alexei Nesov, who was driving the incidentally red line colored car. That's all right, but Damon, looks as though it's settled into a bit of a plateau here, but it's definitely going to pick up towards the end, isn't it?
Yeah, while we were discussing about the earlier, the two Frenchmen actually clawed back the top two spots. As I said, Veron just immediately cinches third place. Only 2 tenths behind Guinness here, another 4 tenths behind Harrison. So the top three seems to be rounded out quite well right now. No changes in position so far, but though the times are definitely improving. Coming up to our last 2 minutes before the end of qualifying. I think these drivers will be able to set one more fast lap before we go into the race proper. Very nice livery on that Hyundai, actually.
Yep. With Nesov coming through the final corner now. First, all the way to where he is, about 1.3 seconds, so that's no slouch. A couple of blinks of the eye and all 12 cars would have actually gone past you. As he crosses the line now, he improves his time, but not an improvement in position, so he stays 12th for now. Harrison, though, we're looking at him right now with his teammate Corentin Guinness right behind by about 0.04 of a second as he goes taking the MotoGP line of sorts because they used to have the penalty line right there. Off the circuit and luckily out of harm's way, but Harrison will be consoling himself knowing the fact that he doesn't have cars behind. That's what Corentin Guinness is having right now. And there we go, Guinness goes a bit wide. Is he gonna let through? No, in fact he goes offline, lets the other guys by. And Lorenzo, this is just what I was about to say, that it's horrible, isn't it, having people behind like that.
No, I don't know if there was like miscommunication between the drivers, as we see Lisa Naj trying to go around the track, the Impulse Racer, one of the newest additions of the TCR lineup. Now you can see, a little bit of a moment right there. Oh, okay, what is happening between Bobby and Guinness right there? I did not understand one bit what happened to both of them.
I think the aftermath of the World Cup final from last year, from a couple of years back, is still heating up between the both of them. But I think if they want to sort it out, their differences, they probably would have done it so off track. But unfortunately, some rivalries have actually flared up here. As now we're coming up to the closing in of qualifying. They're across the line now, a few of them. So if they were to continue on now with half a minute left to go, they won't even complete their lap times. Unlike Guy Valero here coming out of the final corner. Would this be an improvement? Look at that. First to fourth, only just 0.06 of a second. Can Valero break that duck across the line now? And it is going to be an improvement. What a lap time in the closing stages of qualifying. Up to the front goes Guy Valero, a 51.52 by about 0.02 of a second of Kieran Harrison. We did not expect that to come up so late, but here we are. What an end to the qualifying session there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, caught me off guard over there, but Valero just showcasing why I back up what I said. I think he's one of the world's best TCR drivers. He is a setup. He's the AMX Racing Academy setup maker for all the TCR cars. Know the cars front to back. My like I said before, my on the previous broadcast, I had complained that he has no apples, he has nothing on the desk, that he has his Predator desktop nowadays. But you can see he's jamming, and he knows he's ready.
Absolutely, and he's ready to go against some really fast guys. Look at that. First, all the way to Zamperlini, 6/10 of a second. And if we can include Martin Chico, that he's under a second there. What a competitive field, and I can't wait for the race, Damon.
Yeah, let's hope everyone gets a clean start, right?
Oh, okay, I think you're almost out of words for now. We're going to go straight to the race after this. But there's our BenQ session winner, Guy Valero, and he is tuning. But he'll have to start all the way from the back here, as now we're ready to go here. A standing start as opposed to a rolling start that we normally have for other cars like stock cars and Indy cars, etc. Ready to go then. The butterflies are in everybody's stomachs. You can hear the revs rising as we are watching underneath the UFO that is actually built on top of the circuit sometime around the late 90s. Yes, if you look from far just now, in fact, we saw some of our previous shots. It is a UFO that is actually acting as a hospitality area. Now then, looking at a few drivers, we're looking at Alexei Nesov here, starting out for the in front. He was P12 at one point. Right behind Marcos Rafael and Tobias Soriano, who did really set a competitive lap time that's representative, but I think he was probably playing that strategy because now lights are probably coming on the gantry pretty soon. Waiting for the green flag to fly, and there it is. Green flag's flying. Smoke flies off the tires as well because he's all front with drive cars. Accelerating away. Soriano gets the best of starts. Full shot coming to turn one. Almost MotoGP style here, in fact. There's a big spin coming through turn one there. Somebody's going to get clattered, and Nesov does get clattered here, with Gaston Kulhabi being the victim of that one. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see who punted him through, but Barbie goes up to second. Naj, Philippa, and Naj go side by side here. They're going to swap it for P3. Guinness, Harrison, and the rest of the field is streamed their way through, but Soriano got the start of dreams here. He is 2.2 seconds ahead now, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I saw Zamperlini getting slightly RG-bargied. I think that was with Martin Chico coming into turn number one, but after that completely lost momentum, and that crash basically incited the whole chaos in the field. And I was slightly surprised that Nesov already took the toe. He's out of the race, so he's basically going to be the podium sitter for race 2, and basically hits up all the action. Meanwhile, CMRC getting racy outside of dry sand.
Yeah, we saw dry sand, yeah. A very contentious point, especially MotoGPs, because it is a slope coming into that corner, and if you do it misjudge your braking, you might clap to the back of somebody. Luckily, in touring cars and other four-wheel machinery, it's easier to brake here. But look at that! 3 wide coming up to Alex Crivier corner. It is an absolute mayhem here right now. In fact, it's coming into the corner, coming up to Crivier after this. But what a start so far, at least, for quite a few guys, especially Harrison's up the fourth. He's cleared a mayhem. Rafael falling further behind after starting up P2 at one point, as Guinness is working onto the back of him, Damon.
Coming into that chicane right now, I think we won't be able to come back to the replay for a while now because of how much action is happening on the screen right now. And with the Hyundai in the pits, this is actually now a one-make race.
Yeah, in essence, because we did see it was a class of Audis. As here we go, this is what happened to start. And it looks as though it's Fabi that actually called that particular incident. Well, the comment that went through says bowling, but I'm pretty sure he was playing a bit of honkers, as British like to say. There we go, the 2 other cars that we bombed that one. Completely innocent bystanders. They probably did not know that the car was barreling towards them backwards even, coming to turn one, but here it is what it is. It has happened, and for those guys, it's just a matter of trying to recover some lost ground here as we look at further behind. Naj has lost a boatload of positions. He's dropped all the way up to the cusp of the top 10 now, with Zamperlini looking on the back of him, trying to come through and catch a few of the drivers, including ETE World Champion Nicolas Verone, who drove alongside Ben Keating. And I might say Ben Keating was one of the crazier drivers in modern GTs because he can drive multiple classes at one point. Verone, though, working on the back of, looks like Marcos Rafael. By the looks of it, it's not going to be a work move that's going to be done, or is it? He's going to be coming through. Yes, Valero is the one who's now working on the side of Rafael and goes through up to P6. My word, so much is happening, and we're only in the first couple of laps, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and there's a little door-to-door action between Valero and Hifel once again coming out of turn number 8 as Aspar going through Angel Nieto. The Frenchman is gonna have now the overlap and makes the move done. But even though the Brazilian tries to find an opening, but there's no opening whatsoever. And you can see from what it looks like the camera out of Ifo running, I think from the festival. I think I know what festival this is, to be very honest, but I could be very wrong. I think that's the grape festival that is happening in one of the towns in my state.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because Damon's pointing on his breath that is actually a motion rig by the looks of it. He's going for it. There's the TV crew right behind as well, recording that. So,
Say in the cafe.
hello to everyone who's watching there. But that's quite a nice touch, isn't it, from PFL, having a TV crew right behind. But unfortunately, he's in the mid-pack right now, fighting with Pedro Dean, a fellow Brazilian right behind. This is another one of the Brazilians, three in fact we have here. Zambellini outside of the top 10, trying to fight Zilanaj. All the while then, there's other battles going up in front, including the likes of Dino Felipe and Gonzalo Fabi, who are leading an Argentine 1-2-3 in front of Kieran Harrison. So, this is going to be an interesting dynamic here. We saw last time out in Laguna Seca how it was a bit of a fight towards the end, especially the fact that Kieran Harrison was involved. He was trying to rejoin the track, causing absolute mayhem. Let's hope that it'll be a much cleaner fight this time around, as we see from on board Gonzalo Fabi being pursued by Dino Felipe. That's one overtaking spot out of the way now, but it looks as though, Damon, it might just be a overtaking maneuver next time by.
Yeah, it's either we see a move happening within this particular lap, or this ends up being an entire race long battle that will be having us at the edge of our seats. Story of unrelated though, or maybe it is related. Toby Soriano here, actually very comfortably ahead of everyone else right now. All the battling going on in the pack behind him has given him the edge. He needs to eke out about 1 second lead. It was about 2 seconds earlier on, but I think these drivers are actually starting to catch up. But as long as he can hold on to that lead, I think he'll do just fine for himself. You can see Fabi there losing the position to Felipe, actually making that pass happen, but Fabi is now losing too much speed. Kieran Harrison is coming out to the side, makes the pass happen, and now he's back in third, and Fabi's in fourth.
What do you think, Lorenzo? It looks as though he might have cut a chicane somewhere and lost a lot of momentum.
Yeah, that's a slowdown.
Fabi.
And that has to be a slowdown, I think, just into the entry of the Siena chicane. So that's why he probably lost momentum towards the outside and left Felipe and Harrison go by. He didn't even try to fight back against both the Brit and his fellow countrymen in Argentina. Now, the thing is, it says that they're open for Guinness to come in and make an attack. So basically, it's a way of Italy versus MRC battle. And Tobi Soriano, one of the real good drivers coming out of Argentina that, you know, knows how to drive everything, drives majorly nowadays. The TCR, also, he's some fun with that TCR, knows how to extract time. But the problem is, Felipe and everybody else behind is just being not fast, but like majorly faster in comparison to the leader of this race.
Indeed, in fact, that case in point that you were making there, Lorenzo, fastest lap right now is by Kieran Harrison at 51.8. About last time out, a scarcely believable 1.2 seconds faster than Tobias Soriano. So Harrison then's got the bit between his teeth here, so ready to pounce when it really matters, especially given the fact that he's got only one guy left to fight for the lead race. So looking at a battle for PA, Damon. Yeah,
Paolo Dean holding on to PA, but just barely. You can see 3 cars right behind him, less than a second and a half separating these three for this big battle right now. Well, whether he'll be able to hold on to the lead remains to be seen. We must be under a considerable amount of pressure in order to hold this position right now. As you can see, that the battle is still really raging on for these 3 drivers right now, breaking distances all different to each other. They're literally just snaking behind each other as well, bumper to bumper. We're going back to Fabi here, who's lost another position to Guinness.
Yeah, that chicane is not his favorite. Look at that, another one. And case in point, what Lorenzo said earlier, might have been a slow penalty because he cut the chicane too much. And that's another 3 positions that he's lost in the last couple of laps. So from at one point up to P2, now he's dropped to P6. Fastest lap again for Harrison, 51.6. Way faster than Soriano. So it looks as though he might be on for the win here, unless somebody behind can mount a huge fight for the lead. And case in point, we were looking at Gavalero for a second. Now Fabi's back on it, fighting against GTE driver Nicolas Varone. So Varone was probably looking to have a nice runabout. You know, when we say kickabout for football, this is a runabout. But he's found out that the competition is so tough, especially how qualifying was very close. First to 11th by just under a second. On board Kieran Harrison now. We're coming out to one of those main overtaking points. Lorenzo, is he going to do it?
I think if he finds the opening to actually do it, he will do it. But the thing is, it's just coming from way back to Harrison would have to make that overtake. It's basically a dive bomb and then something else. Meanwhile, you can see Varone being able to fend off both his countrymen, and now you can see Valeto coming into the frame right now, coming to try to catch the P5 and P6 out of the Argentinian duo. So it's going to be interesting to see how that will shape off to be. And another thing I've been looking at, I think Soriano's lead is going to be snatched away in about, I would say, 2 laps when this is all said and done.
As we say, it's normally AWS, but this is Lorenzo's live gap services, and this is actually quite a good bold shout here, because it's not without a realm of possibility here as well, because last time out, a 52.1 for Soriano, 51.9 for Filippa. Of course, the fastest lap we saw as well, 1.6 for Harrison, so 5/10 faster than Filippa. He's definitely got the Morodon going here. Coming out now to turn 1 underneath the UFO. Into turn 1, is he going to move on the inside? No. Looks as though they're following the advice that, well, we pretty much said earlier, don't go narrow in touring cars. You might lock up, David.
Yeah, and this battle is going to be pretty intense as it's shaping up. That Tobias Soriano is slowly losing his lead, as we mentioned before. He's just not setting the pace, but seeing as though he's actually been pretty fast on that last lap, quite a bit ahead of Dino Filippa. They're setting a bit of a faster lap. Kieran Harrison tries to make a move there. Filippa going a bit wide. We'll see whether or not he makes he can capitalize on the mistake by Filippa throughout the rest of the lap. We're now halfway through the race. Right now, Kieran is just breathing down the neck of Filippa.
Yep, coming up to dry sack. Is he going to dive this one this time, Lorenzo? I don't think so, but he is biding his time quite well. He's not going to affect his car too much. Probably saving it for the latter half of the race, don't you think?
Just a bit of pressure coming in.
For now, what he's doing is just working with Lipa right now to try to catch Soriano the best way they can. They're catching bit by bit. They're working around the sectors to make sure they are close to or within the draft range out of the number 107 Audi. So it is just trying to, be patient, try to find that opening. If you get around lap 10 or lap 11 that you think, oh, this lead is not going to be catched, we're not going to catch the leader anytime soon. I think P2 is much better for me to get some more dollars. Well, he's going to try to find that opening 100%.
That's the key thing, is working together, isn't it? Because it looks as though Harrison is working with Filippa to get up to the back of Serrano. He's relying on Filippa's pace here to get up to the back, but he's not being held up like a cock in a bottle right now. They're both really going well here, so they come across the line. Let's see what's the lap time going to be. Across the line goes Soriano. It's a 51.8, so it's pretty much the same. 51.9 for Filippa, but Harrison is not hanging about. He dives one in the inside, 2,000 slower that time around, but it looks as though he's had enough. He's ready to strike when the iron's hot and goes on to P2. That's a lovely move coming out to turn 1, David.
Yeah, Filippa having in that position, a very brave move from Harrison. But now it's whether or not they'll be able to keep this teamwork going in, because the gap between them and first place is just not narrowing. It's been hovering around 1.1 to 1.3 seconds between these things right now. So I think at this point they're just figuring out that, okay, this is a battle for P2. We're just going to make sure that we fight for our right. And Guinness is actually hailing them. So now it's become a 3-way battle for these positions. And then another 3-way battle for P6, just at the back there.
Indeed. Normally we say Joga Bonito in football, but this is Carrera Bonito. Is that correct, Lorenzo, I would say? Because it's been brilliant racing so far.
You can say una buena carrera. That would be better.
Yep.
More
as you can see, I'm not
appropriate,
native. Oh, yes. Probably because it was a bit more informal because of what Pele used to say, wasn't it? Joga Bonito. But, yeah. Beautiful racing so far, and I'm surprised. I'm impressed that it's actually quite well mannered, if anything, apart from the start of the race, of course, Lorenzo.
No, it has been a very well behaved race, but this is just TCRs. TCRs, they like to get racy at the end. Oh, the lead! Oh, that lead! Sorry, I don't think got a slowdown. And hello, Harrison, fight is on.
Oh yes, fight is really on here. Look at that, across the line. The top 4 separated by just 0.4 of a second. Harrison goes wide, so does Filippa. as Soriano goes narrow. Luckily, he didn't lose the lead that time around, but Harrison takes the long way around. Does he make the mistake? No. He is going to be boxed in on the outside, and a bit of a touch between Soriano and Harrison that time around, with Guinness following suit. So both Team RC guys are following the same path, but they found the door has been locked, David.
Oh, pretty intense so far coming out. 4 cars. Guinness took the opportunity to catch up. I wonder what happened to Soriano that lost him that second gap, because now he's under a lot of pressure, and these cars are going to be on a train all the way until Harrison decides to make a move. Either that or Felipe will decide to make a move. Probably won't see anything happen until we hit the big pins or the school opponents on the second half of the circuit, but of course anything can happen at this point in time right now. 4 cars, less than half a second separate these 2 cars. Harrison on the outside, see if he can make a pass, but actually let Felipe come through a little bit, I think.
Did he say 4? I think I meant 7, because look at the gap between Veronic, Fabio, and Valero to that front group. It's nothing. So we have a 7-car battle. Just like that, welcome to TCRs.
Absolutely. A Super 7 up in front right now, but Harrison looks as though he want to make a beeline for it. Guinness with a sliding move on the inside manages to get it through on the way onto Angel Nieto corner, now to Blicky. Oh! Massive slide there. He probably got tapped by Felipe, but he cut for the chicane. Is he going to get a penalty for that though, Lorenzo?
Oh, I think if he did, it would be enough. Oh, a little bit of door, sort of side of door action. There you go, the takeout from Guinness into Felipe. And now goes Veroni to P3, saying gracias mucho, mi amigo, and Valero and Fabi following suit.
Aye, that is quite a crazy couple of corners there, and it still looks like it's on. But Guinness with the moment of the race so far with a massive slide. We can focus on Soriano and Harrison for the time being, but the gap between these guys are absolutely closing up. There we go. We're jumping front, we're jumping back. It's game on here. Really, we can't pick out which method to go for as we can look at the picture now. We have a slight replay of what happened to Guinness. Yep, there you go. Case in point, that was Felipe hitting the side of him. Big slide, but luckily he managed to keep it going. He just plowed the throttle through. And luckily in touring cars, Lorenzo, that's the only way to just straighten it out.
Yeah, that's the best way and the only way to straighten it out. And you can see right after, they sent a love-hate relationship between the guys 3 wide. That was never going to work. And around goes the Argentinian. Meanwhile, Valero now trying to overtake Guinness.
Certainly, and the 2 Frenchmen probably will try to work together to get in front of the Argentinian Armada here. As meanwhile, speaking of Argentines needing to be passed, here's Harrison now hounding the back of Soriano, and he thought Soriano might have had an easy run to the win, but a slight mistake a couple of laps earlier where he cut the chicane, losing all that momentum, has invited everyone into play. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in the picture, and we can include Penalty in a while, but unfortunately he's 2.6 seconds further behind this train of cars, these gaggle of cars that have provided so much racing so far here, and it's not over yet, David.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the pressure that these drivers must be under right now to have a full car, nearly half the pack, battling each other for the same position over the course of an entire race right now. I did mention earlier on that we were either going to see an instant move or a race-long exchange, and it looks like the latter is what's happening right now. We've got about 2 laps before the end of the race. Kieran Harrison is still trying to make a move on Soriano that might just pressure him out just before the end of the race right now.
Certainly, and 0.2 of a second separating between the Argentine and the Brit. It looks as though, again, as you said, it is a race-long slugfest here between all these guys. It's a game of chess. Whether or not they can make that mistake coming towards the end is another thing altogether. They will see the lap counter is now leaving the final 2 laps on the table here as we come at the dry sack. Is it gonna be a move this time, Lorenzo?
No time whatsoever, but here Harrison on the inside. Dive comes, so door to door they get, shoves the 107 off, and finally Harrison gets the move done with 1.5 laps to go.
Oh, he just barged the door open with a welcome wagon, and that is Harrison through, albeit with a bit of afters, because look at that, Soriano is not best pleased by that. He is flashing his lights, saying that, well, that wasn't one of the best moves that I've seen so far this heat. Maybe I could try to retaliate back, but retaliation moves that are a bit NASCAR-esque, probably not the most welcome here, Damon.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see whether or not there'll be some decisions made regarding what happened early on between Fabi and Felipe. Fabi and Felipe there. Sorry, Guinness. Oh my god, I'm getting confused. It's late.
Yeah, but it'll be really, really confusing for the stewards as well, especially from the Korean Automobile Racing Association, who are our official stewarding partner here, looking through some of the incidents, especially given the ones that have race-winning complications. But, as you can see, a comment there, Guinness was man qualifying. Case in point, he was actually having a bit of a go towards Fabi, so that will probably be brought up in the stewards' room after this. But having said that, final lap is now being commenced with the white flag out, and Harrison's actually not streaking away as I was expecting, because he's still within earshot of Soriano. And if he were to have, let's say, a bit of afters from that particular incident, Lorenzo, he might just want to do the same move that Harrison did the previous lap.
Barred any mistakes or any, more contundent dives from one of the drivers, this is going to be our top 3 and top 6 eventually.
What do you think, Damon? Agree to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think here Harrison is pretty comfortably ahead. It doesn't look like Soriano will be able to gain enough time to make a move happen in time. I'm using time a lot here right now. And in terms of how aggressive these drivers have been in TCR, if you harken back to the days of BTCC back in the late 90s, where every driver was pretty much kill on sight almost when it comes to body contact, I think this is kind of like
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, look at that! Look at that! There's a dive on the inside from Verone there, trying to get up to the back of Soriano. We normally see MotoGP moves being ending the race towards the end there, like Giovinazzi and Rossi all those years ago. But across the line they go. Harrison wins it by 1.2 seconds in front of Soriano, Verone, Fabi, Valero, Guinness, and Flipper. The amount of times that we said that all 7 cars have come through. Oh, what a race! We were treated to an absolute banger. Yes, there were a few dirty moments here and there, but for the most part, it was absolutely brilliant racing. No, we would say Joga Bonito, the beautiful game, but this was beautiful racing out on track. And Lorenzo, would you agree to that?
No, I agree 100%. I love touring cars for the exact reason. It provides us some close racing, enticing racing, some door-to-door here and there, but I call it grassroots racing. This is what racing is all about, trying at your best from start to finish, and I can't wait to see what Race 2 brings. I see Kieran Harrison take the top spot. We had a real driver on the podium. We're going to have a real driver in pole position in the second race, since Alexei Nesov is a real-life GT3 driver.
Wow, we're treated to some real life guys as well here for entertainment in terms of driving. But for the time being, Verone will be up the sharp end with again, as what Lorenzo said, Alexei Nesov up in front. As you can see, the Red Bull colored car is up in front. Run away, green flag flies, and it looks as though it's an absolutely atrocious start, in fact, for Nesov. That's not the best of getaways he got, as Chico and Kulhavi go around the outside of him, and both Argentines have gotten through, or have they? Chico actually lost out. Nesov actually slots back to P2. But it's a cleaner start in this time round after what happened in race number 1. Kulhavi getting rushed. Oh no, that just takes it. There goes Valero, the big contender, out of the way. And onto the gravel trap goes Rafael as, spoke too soon there, David.
I don't think you spoke too soon. I think the gods of the commentators just decided that was the time perfect timing from you when it comes to having an incident happen there. But of course, the biggest winner from all those drivers, of course, Kieran Harrison, managing to make up 3 positions and actually making up 4 positions, back in 10th place right now. If Soriano, not as lucky. Valero as well at the back with Varone having.
Oh, that's Harrison. Harrison does one in the inside of Pedrodine. That's a late lunge. He did it previously with the race win as a couple of cars went a bit of cropper there, including Corentin Guinness, who's actually lost out a few positions and he's almost sent to the back. Oh, into the grab track goes Soriano, the pole sitter from race number 1, and then some as we see a replay of what happened to Guy Valero then. Oh, that's gonna be awkward, isn't it? That's actually from Corentin Guinness himself. So I don't know if that was from Harrison. Otherwise, there will be a bit of awkward relations between the Frenchmen after this. But by the looks of it, Lorenzo, it was just a case of all the cars falling into a very tight corner.
Yeah, there were 3 wide that was never going to work, and I think there was some slight neck from what it looks like from the perspective of on Harrison to Valeros. But other than that, still managed to not break away too much from the draft, and there's still some battling going on. You can see Varane on the inside of the Frenchman. Valero still retains, but still pretty up heated action in this track, and now Nesov is going to be in a world of pain against the Argentinian.
Indeed, and the Argentine actually went a bit wider there on the entry, tried to cut across, but Nesov was actually, absolutely frustrated there that he got blocked mid-corner. But I think that's within the fair laws of racing, isn't it? Because that wasn't against the rules. He just stalled the momentum, Lorenzo.
No, it's like naturally parking the car in the corner in the corner apex. He had no overlap, and you think, oh, I'm gonna get that overlap. The guy just parked in front of you. Naturally, is going to be a little bit of a movement.
Shot there, that's a spin.
Rip around.
Unfortunately for Rafael, there he goes. Well, it's not been his night, isn't it? He had a so-so first race, but this second race really put a pain on it as a bit of a collision between Varone and Valero, which allows Varone to go to the inside of Zampolini, who pushes Zampolini out wide. Valero is going to pick up the pieces too. As up in front, Felipe and Nesov still engaged in their battle. Here's Harrison looking on the back of Pedrodine. Oh, for the behind! Valero once again being the victim of a collision, and he's sent all the way to the back once again. You really got to feel for a man who is just trying to make up positions, and unfortunately, luck has not been going for him. As side by side goes Felipe and Nesov here, Damon.
Oh, another battle for second place. Alexei Nesov actually managed to hold on to it for quite a while, and Felipe being really frustrated with it, decided to make a move, and finally actually makes it stick this time. The Elantra stuck in between 2 Audis right now with Gines also hounding him in the back, trying to make a pass happen. Takes the outside into the left-hander. Doesn't seem to be able to make it stick so far as we come into the start-finish straight right now. Ooh, it's going to be quite difficult because he is in the draft. Coming a bit defensively, Gines actually having the drag, coming onto the side, pulling on side by side. Would they make it into turn 1? Too wide, it looks like it might be. As you can see, the incident between Kieran Harrison and Rafael here. Yeah, he got pushed a little bit, and then he just swerved into the path of an oncoming car. That is just unfortunate for him. Meanwhile, that's all. Ooh, a little bit of a love tap there coming from Fabi.
And they already had a bit of afters from qualifying, remember? So these two might be going at it again in the race, but it looks as though Guinness might not mind that too much. He has his sights set on Nesov. You can hear the collision there, the crunching of carbon fiber when both cars were coming together. It looks as though that love tap was more than a love tap. It was a bit personal, I would say. As coming up now to Drysack, let's see that we're checking in with our Amazon and AWS live service. Lorenzo, is he going to make a move? Yes, he does. But where's he going to make his move next?
The thing is, can he get around 6, 7, 7, and 8 here out of Drysack, coming into corner number 8, coming to Aspar? Can he make it stick through Angel Nieto? A little bit of side-by-side door action between Guinness and the Russian Bulgarian driver Nesov. A little bit of a love tap coming from Guinness. He gets spun around by Fabi. Fabi goes through. He's going to lose 2 positions. It's going to be Guinness. And then you can see he's fighting side-by-side with Martin Chico, but cannot make the overtake stick on the Frenchman.
More nail-biting stuff, as one of the comments pointed out just now, as Guinness then is the loser in that particular battle because he's now behind Fabi, and these two, of course, we saw in qualifying how they were going at it as we see a replay of what happened to Valero. It looks as though Barone was the one that is sticking in. The one with Zampolini on the inside. So Valero then, he could sneak it around the outside, but unfortunately got dumped into the gravel trap. And for good measure, Soriano comes through as well. As first, second are more than clear away in front, with third place being fought out here by Fabi, Guinness, Nico, Naj, Harrison, D, all the way to Verone as well. So, really can't call for this. Apart from after what happened in the first race where we thought Soriano was going to get it, he was caught towards the end. But it looks at it, Damon, it's going to be, third place is going to be the point of contention.
Yeah, right now there are 8 cars with less than 3 seconds separating all of them from this position right now. Filippa and Kulavi have already cleared the pack right now. Harrison is just coming on really strong. Actually gained a couple of positions there, now in P6. Very good driving from him. Actually taking opportunities from battles of his done. He's right behind Guinness right now. His teammate, Guinness himself, is trying to make a move. Oh, that's off. Under heavy fire there. Fabi actually lost it a little bit, bottling it.
Look at that, look at that.
Pass.
The poke between Guinness and Fabi, and look at that. Fabi, in retaliation, flashes his lights towards the Frenchman. He did not like that one bit. Looks as though that rivalry that's been boiling since qualifying has spilled over a bit in this second heat. And look at that. Harrison's also going to be into the fight. There's Zampolini and Valero once again. Was further behind. We didn't catch that on camera live. We're seeing it here, replay. And firewalling the frontal goes Zampolini. But, oh no. Well, too much adhesion, but not enough of it will stick. And unfortunately for the both of them, that has pretty much ended any chance of having a good result here, Lorenzo.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think I blame Valero one too much on that instance, because he was just loose. Guinness on the inside, brakes on the back end of the Russian Bulgarian man, just to break it in time to avoid crashing into the back end of the car of Netsov and spinning him around. So the red line driver lives to fight another day. The thing is, Fabi's not far behind, and he's looking angry to make the move.
Indeed, and so is Guinness. Around the outside goes Guinness here on the team red line driver. Does he make the mistake? No, he doesn't, but Fabi is going to be the one to pick up the pieces on the inside here, which becomes the outside. That's not the line that he wants to beat, and Guinness will have the opportunity to just shut the door if he was to get in front, like so, and he blocks him. But that allows Nesov to get away and brings Harrison to battle, which forces Fabi to defend hard here, and this is not what he wants. He's actually sandwiched between two teammates, and the guy in front happens to be the man that he was battling with the whole time. This is not a really good situation, Damon.
I'm guessing if iRacing let you step out of the car, there might be a fist fight.
Well, NASCAR style fist fights, unfortunately, is not possible through the wonders of the internet. Luckily, otherwise we'd be slapping each other through the screens most of the time. But at this point, at least, Guinness, Fabi, and Harrison stay as they are, because a big cork in the bottle, the Russian vodka right in front, Nesov, is proving to be one tough cookie to crack, as he still defends very hard. A bit on the grey line here, a bit of grey area here, but for the most part it's clean, and it has actually benefited the likes of Kuhabi and Filippa up in front. There it goes, Guinness on the inside. He tries one on it. Does he make the mistake? He tried the door open, and just Fabi's going to follow suit here. Nesov around the outside, go for the anti-center chicane. It's not going to be on here, or is it? Somehow they all made it through, and it's still going after him.
This is gonna end in tears. I'm calling this.
Oh! Just as you said it, Lorenzo, it ends in absolute tears for Nesov. Wow, you really called it right on the money there. And we don't even need AWS prediction for that one. It came right at the spot, half a second later. And Nesov is sent outside the top 10. There's Harrison on the inside coming through Naj, making away P5. But crucially though, Guinness and Fabi are still in front of him. They might have a bit of fireworks ready to let go here. As further behind, Barone, Chico, and Dean fight out their own little battles here outside, and he fringes on the top 10. Oh, we need to catch up perhaps for a bit, but Lorenzo, what an absolutely manic race. We said the first race was beautiful, second was just absolutely local.
That's an understatement. You're gonna see Fabi diving down on the inside of Nesov, and nothing that Nesov could do right there other than spin around. You're gonna see Harrison crash into the bumper off the number 13 car, and basically that seals the deal for Nesov. He's not gonna recover from this. That's just basically Well, race over. I apologize for this moment.
Yeah, race over for at least in the podium positions. He held P3 for so long, but unfortunately the bottom bottom was smashed open, and nothing much is left into the reward apart from Fabian Guinness moving out to P3, and the rest of the field also getting one free position. It's still not over though. You can see the two CMRC guys are sandwiching Gonzalo Fabi in between, as these two are still in their little battles after we saw a glimpse of it coming through turn number 1. But up in front though, Kulhabi has actually lost a bit of time. Now Filippa is only about under a second behind there, so something happened between the chicanes again, isn't it, Lorenzo?
Yeah, I want to look towards that again. While we're catching Kulavi, he's being caught by Filippa, and we see still this battle for the last spot in the podium. I called this is gonna end in tears. I'm calling one other thing again. This is not over until the final lap, and I also think this is gonna end in tears in the final lap as well.
Okay, let's hold on to that particular bet. I'm writing it in. Last lap collision on the cards between top 3. So let's see if that was to be the case. If someone was to be betting on this, then we walk away a happy chappy. But for the time being, at least, we're only on lap 7. We have still 5 laps to go of this manic race, and it has given us so much. But it's not over yet, and it looks as though I think Harrison might just write the next chapter of this particular script. He's going to try one on the inside of Drysack. Looks like Fabi's not defending, and he has every right to do that as well. He can just hold his line, because if you go narrow in the touring car, as we said countless times already, you might lock up and go wide. There's a pattern for P8. Chico, Dean, and Soriano, their own little scrap here for the edges of the top 10. On point with Harrison now. It looks a bit no way through just yet, unless he will really try one, David.
Yeah, trying to find holes in the defense of Fabi right now. Fabi also kind of on a little bit of an emotional drive right now, especially with how frustrated he was over the course of the earlier part of the race right now. Still stuck behind Guinness, who of course is his race rival this particular day right now, but Kieran Harrison is just waiting for an opportunity to strike. And it looks like might probably come sooner rather than later. We do still have about 4 laps before it begins to kick off, really. And for the last lap magic from all of his drivers. So Javi still maintaining on to that lead, but Filippa is actually closing the gap quite substantially. Was a second last lap, now it's down to half a second. I'm wondering if he'll be able to hold on to it all the way until the end right now. Harrison is on the back.
Yeah, as we hear the cars running over the curves here, the rumble strips as well, it had a really thumping effect on the suspension and the tires. And let's hope that any of these guys will not be involved in the thump in the closing stages. I'm calling it there. Yeah, look at that. Soriano there, Damon. Oh, there goes Soriano with a big slide. No, it's Dean, in fact. It's Dean who's just slid it a bit. Luckily, front-wheel drive kept it going for him, and he just plowed the throttle to save it. Oh, wow. And we thought we were going to see another major incident there, guys. So, Lorenzo, off you go.
Yeah, so a little bit of a scary moment right there for the Brazilian, but the Nordic racing driver just manages to use the throttle of the TCRs to keep the car as straight as possible, while now we're looking into Kulavi's perspective. Actually led part of the race too on Sunday's GT3 race in Mugello, but this time around in TCRs, which I would say his most natural car with this SART, the South America racing team, would be a little bit better. It's being better, but the thing is, his pace is not being up the same pace of what Felipe Guinness, Fabian Company are actually doing.
Yeah, in fact, with both of them probably just working together here, they have 5.7 seconds ahead of Guinness. They will not want to blow this chance away. Kulhavi, especially after being dumped out at the start of heat number 1, he would love to get some vengeance here by winning heat number 2. But he's got a fellow Argentine, Dino Filippa, right behind him, very close as we look at the battle for P3. Guinness, Fabi, and Harrison as well. That is also boiling to the rim, as there goes Filippa on the inside. He's not hanging about, or does he? No, really, really close right there. They do not want to spoil this one right now. Not with a good 1-2 on the cards, and $30 and $20 respectively. Don't want to be flushed out of the trade here, Damon.
Yeah, he was definitely fishing for an opportunity there. Kulavi not giving him the opportunity. Trying to take a title, go narrow just to stop him from making the pass happen. He does hold off the attack for now. Does increase the gap a little bit as we go over back to the battle for P3. Ines is slowly extending the lead between Fabi and Harrison right now. Harrison still trying to make a move on him. Not sure when he'll be able to do it. We've only got about 2 laps left, so not a lot of opportunities remaining. Coming up to Harrison right now. Harrison, he just feels the anger as he tries to make a move past Fabi. He goes a bit wide on the outside. Does he take the outside line? He has to go a bit wide. Loses a bit of speed there. Still on the tail of Fabi. Coming in to, I think this is the 37 to 38 into Aspar.
Yeah.
Does still have opportunities to make sure he can get it there. Up until the chicane happens, I think he has the speed in order to make the pass happen. He just needs to find the line.
Yeah, but so far at least that call by Lorenzo to say that it might be a clash between the top 3, or at least somewhere around that top the 3 between the 3 podium squabblers as we come up to the Ayrton Senna chicane again. That's a big slide there from Fabi. Manages to grab it into the inside and in turn manages to close himself up to Ines as around the outside goes Kohlhavi. Filippo on the inside, side by side they go. It looks as though one of the Argentines thinks that, yep, when the time comes, I want to go for the win, and they're at it here. Side by side they go underneath the UFO into turn number 1. Filippo on the outside, Kohlhavi on the inside. Does he make the move? Stay around the outside. Kohlhavi manages to punish his way back up, but respectful driving between the two of them. They give each other plenty of space, and they're still continuing this fight, albeit losing a bit of time here to Guinness, who's having clear air, and he's just closing up by a second. Here's the battle for P4 between Harrison and Fabi as we look at the battle for the lead. Coming from turn number 3 and 4, side by side they go. This is going to go either way then. Filippo, Kohlhavi, they've been swapping and changing positions the last couple of sectors, and it's still going on here. Coming out to dry sec. Will this be a move here for Filippo for the lead, Lorenzo?
Looks like it as Filippo's going to set this car to the inside, catches the side draft, makes the move. Deep move, can he actually just settle on the brake and assure that Kohlhavi doesn't get the catch back, the switch back. And there you go, Filippo into the lead with 1.5 laps to go.
Yeah, but for how long? Because you can see there the counter reaction from Kohlhavi. He knows that he's not going to let that one lie. He knows that the next time by is his final opportunity. One last lap after this to regain the lead of the race that he has held on for so long. That's the start. He made the whole shot work after having such a tumultuous first heat. This second heat has gone swimmingly for him. But will he end in a smile on his face and a $30 richer bag and point in the bag here for him? Filippo though holds on to it for now. It's only 0.4 of a second between the two Argentines. He's going to try to look on the inside. They were going side by side here at one point, but it looks as though I think Filippo for the time being has the advantage, David.
Yeah, it looks like he's actually managed to extend the gap a little bit. Kohlhavi is trying to find holes in his defense, trying to make sure he can find an opportunity to get the pass back, but ends up losing a bit of speed to him. The gap is now extending to about half a second. As I say, that is actually decreasing right now. As you can see, Chico trying to make a move onto Veron here. Hasn't seemed to be able to do it now. The battle for P3 is still going hard, although Guinness is now quite far ahead of that. So now probably a battle for P4.
Oh, there's a touch! Oh, that was a big touch there from Verone to the back of Soriano. Chico to the back of Soriano. No, Chico in fact was hit by Soriano and sent to the back here of the top 10. And that allows Valero a fast recovering Valero here. I would say fast recovery because he's now recovering up to the back of the top 10. After such a race-long slog, he's at least happy to get away with a few dollars here still. Meanwhile, as the battle is up at the sharp end between Guinness, Fabi, and Harrison seems to be waiting a bit. Naj is not bringing himself into play. He's going to try to get to the top 5. There's the battle for first and second. And here is the battle outside the rostrum, Lorenzo.
I think Naj needs to at least find another opening while you can see Chico fending out from Valero into the dry sack chicane. Is just, sorry, the chicane, no, hairpin. But not having a good exit. There goes Valero with a better exit, better run through 6, 7, and 8. The thing is, does he have the time? Does he have the space and the track to work with for a potential overtake inside the top 10?
Yeah, that'll be quite a great recovery for him, as here is the, well, it's not the Valero incident, but in fact it's the Chico incident that was sent into the grasp of Valero. Yeah, Soriano probably just misjudged his braking a bit as the two were coming into closing speed. Managed to somehow save it, caused the grasp, but goes wide afterwards, as we are now looking at the leaders coming through the final corner for the final time here. Felipe made his move work in the final stages of this race and takes victory in front of Cool Harvey by about 0.3 of a second. And I think it was a fair battle between the both of them. It was a clean, great fight. Across the line goes Guinness in P3, about 3 seconds behind. Barbie and Harrison gets the fastest lap of the race at the death in front of Nash, Rone Soriano, Dean, Chico, and then Valero, with we can safely say is a bit disappointed with P11 after such a tumultuous race. Nessov, well, he was disappointed. He held P3 at one point, but then got dumped all the way to the back in P12. Zamplini and Hefel, with a very chaotic race himself, rounds up your 14 drivers that have finished here. Oh my word! Well, we're gonna have a bit of opinions from the both of you. But Lorenzo, what's your thought on that race?
Insanity. I think that's the best way to describe this race. And it was insanity at the first half, a little bit after this, the first half as well, going to the second half. I think we saw everything, then something else. But at the end, Felipe Clavi, just having a really clean battle and a respectful battle between them. Clavi tried to get the run even on Felipe on the final sectors of the race, but didn't get any space from the number 7. Meanwhile, battle for the podium, it was what could have been for Gonzalo Fabi had he had the pace on Guinness and Harrison, but I managed to fend off the Brit and get into P4. But I think this race too was just, like I said before, pure insanity, and that's the only way I can describe this race and how TCRs are in general.
Absolutely, insanity is the best way to describe it. And Damon?
We were on a boat in the middle of a thunderstorm.
I think that's the best way to put it. Oh, he's lost. We're finally got a real big one out of here, that one. But that's the best way to describe it, because it's not just lightning in the bottle. The lightning came out big time. It needs a Tesla coil to actually come out.
It was just us completely trying to ride the waves and trying to figure out what was happening. We were being pushed in one direction. All of a sudden, before I even finished what I wanted to say, different wave comes up. It was, oh my god.
Oh man, it's insanity. And I think
they say that lightning doesn't strike twice. So I think at the same place, this literally struck twice, thrice, first. I don't even know how to say that. Fifth, I don't know, but you get the general idea.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we can safely say we were near Tesla coil, because it was just lightning there, here, then, and everywhere. And somehow we managed to catch every single bit of action on the track here. It's fair to say we might just need to get a opinion from some of the drivers that were competing that race. We'll probably be looking at some of the interviews that are coming through. But what do you think was just the cause of that? Why was everyone driving so crazily and so beautifully at the same time, Lorenzo?
It is like I said, it's the nature of these cars. They invite door-to-door action. They invite for you to do these overtakes and just drive aggressively. And this is, you think, oh, this is a dirty nature of the cars, right? And things like that. But it's not. It's just how TCR race is. Check real life. Check BTCC. Check STCC, WTCC, TCR Europe, WTCR. It is just like this. They're going at it every single time, and it is really good to watch these races just because they provide this kind of action. But also some of the moves that we saw, like for example, Gnez on, I think it was Fabi that had that incident prior to the last corner. Sometimes it is not pretty, but it is what it is. Just brings the I think the most anger out of the drivers, and that's what they put around the track. Just pure anger and aggressiveness, and I love what they do.
Yeah, it's like putting a few bulldogs together. Sorry to use it's a tough one to say, but it is what is in it. It's a very doggy dog the way it's driving.
I think what happens is that anyone who drives a touring car is possessed by the devil. It's just no other way to describe it. Like anytime you see a touring car.
Absolutely. And I think we might just hand over to the interviews here with Lorenzo leading the line and just getting some thoughts from his fellow drivers as well, how to race in that kind of crazy environment. So we'll be right back with some interviews.
Bring us Corentin Guinness into this race, and Corentin, Man, what a race it was from your perspective. Talk us through about these two races that I think, in your point of view, race pretty much differently. Would you think?
Yeah, first the pace was difficult for me overall, so I just try to drop the pace with the quick guys like Kieran. So yeah, not easy first, and then yeah, I think it has been way too aggressive in my opinion during the different races. Like when you have the chance to make a move, most of the time you are getting blocked or squeezed to go around the outside. When you go around the outside during the move, so yeah, it was tough to be honest. Don't was really clean overall, but yeah, can be pleased I guess with the results because yeah, could have been worse during the few things that happened.
I see there was some frustration, especially when you were battling with Fabi and Varone and even at some point with Gael and other drivers. But going actually on that note, you thought it was a little bit more aggressive than usual. Would you blame it as the nature of the track, or is it combination of the cars and the track? I know you drive a lot these TCRs. I know you drive mainly TCRs and GTs, mainly GT4s. But do you think it is the combination, or what is that brings that aggressiveness?
I think it's a mix of both actually, because the thing is that even if there is like long straight on this track, it's pretty difficult to overtake because most of the time you have only one line which is really fast. So then when you are out of the line, for example the big right which goes uphill, then if you don't really manage to make something there, it's just difficult most of the time. And same, I think the car leads to more aggressive, I would say, compared to other cars because it's front wheel drive, so obviously when you make contact it's maybe a bit easier to save, so you are maybe a bit more tempted to try something more aggressive. But yeah, mix of both. Track doesn't help for sure, and I think the car is always in the mind of the people, the car, when you can make a bit of contact. So a mix of both, in my opinion.
Oh, this makes it makes complete sense what you're saying, and I agree 100%. Well, considering everything, are we due to see you this Saturday or Sunday for what would be any of the AMX 10 or AMX 1 races that we have on the week?
Sorry?
Are we due to see you this Saturday or Sunday for more races here on AMX? I know you've been very busy with your life schedule and stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it, but yeah, we'll see.
All right, Corentin, I know you've been P3 here. Enjoy your podium and enjoy your week, and we'll see you maybe next time here in AMX.
Thanks, good evening.
All right, that was Corentin Guinness from SimRC, and the a real honest interview, in my point of view. That was really good to know that. I think we have one more interview in Dino Filippa, so I think we should be bringing the Argentinian anytime soon. So just waiting to see when is the time. So here we are. Dino Filippa comes into our broadcast booth over here for a quick interview. Dino, winner of the second race, and I think you're pretty satisfied from getting away from all that craziness that happened behind you in race 2.
Hi Lorenzo. Hi all the people who stay viewing the stream. Yes, I won the second race, but I feel not good because I think on the first race I can finish on the podium. But I think some guys are too aggressive or more, I think.
Corentin said the same thing, to be honest. Like, there was much aggression in both races, and I actually do the same question to you. I never seen you race TCRs during my 10 years as a commentator. I seen you more drive GT cars and LMPs. Do you think it's the nature of the track? Do you think it's the combination that is very difficult to overtake that make this race much closer and much more aggressive in your perspective?
I think these cars are really funny to race, but when you have other guys who don't support any contact, it's really difficult to race, because in this car, for make an overtake, you have to dive boom or go to to a contact. But I think some people, when you had a little contact, he think, okay, I have to explode them, this guy. But yes, for me, are really funny this race with the TCR. But on the last race, I have too much contact, and this is not good for me. But well, this is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. And what happens is you get the podium over here on race 2. That's what matters most. You get the 30, basically the full thing, the $30. So that's what you want to see at the end of things. Final question. This comes from the chat, which is kind of interesting. Do you like, from what I've heard, do you like the Hyundai more, or drives the Audi because it is faster because of the update that makes the Audi being the OP car?
I think the Audi is OP because the fixed setup is better than the other cars.
Yeah,
are too much faster. Yes.
Yeah, but in general, which TCR would you prefer to drive if you were in an open setup?
Okay. Sorry, I don't understand the question. I never race on TCR, on official races or league races. I only race on AMX, and I think for me the more funny car is the Honda, but I think it's too slow on fixed setup, and the only choice is Audi.
Okay, Dino, we'll let you go. I know it's getting nearly dinner time there in Argentina, so I'll let you enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully we'll see you this weekend in more AMX races.
Okay, thanks for this race, and thanks for all the races for AMX Global. Bye.
Bye. I think we have interviews here, boys. I'll take it back to you, Damon and Amir, to kick us off.
Yep. Thanks for that, Lorenzo. Obrigado. And that was actually insightful from some of the other guys. It was the nature of the circuit, as you pointed out before, as how it just caused the racing to be a little bit crazy, wasn't it? Because it was a tight circuit. It has some open spaces, like, for example, coming out the dry side, but for the most part, it's one-lane traffic. But it didn't stop the drivers from going 3, even 4 wide at times. And that was kind of like the beauty and sometimes the ferociousness of TCR racing in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think everything that we've seen so far can just be chalked up to the touring car drivers, pretty much. Just something in the cars themselves make you drive like a man possessed, and I think we definitely saw that on display. We're definitely ready to see the results now of that final session.
Yep. And we will also, because of the session the way it's laid out, it's based on the number of points scored throughout the entire one. So your official race winner for this one is Kieran Harrison. Despite not winning a race as well, he managed to actually get himself enough points to put him up there. But look at that, he shares the spoils the same way as Dino Filippa, as they're both a couple of dollars ahead of Gal Valero. And the rest of the field there, you can see Guinness just outside the top 4. It's a bit confusing right now because you can see that the numbers go from 1 to 9. It's actually 1 to 10. But either way, amazing racing all around. And Harrison quietly going about his business to actually win the round. So, yes, he'll be happy with that one despite not taking a race win either way.
He actually did win race 1. He won race 1.
Oh, race 1. Okay,
Yeah.
so my mistake there. So we kind of forgot already. It's about close to 5 here. But Harrison and Filippa share the spoils. $52 on the day. And Valero sharing the podium as well with 50 despite having a heat 2 to forget. Alright then, so that's pretty much it from all of us here today after what was an amazing pair of classes and 4 great heats that we just saw throughout the entire evening. And, well, you think the action's over now? we're actually going to see more of it this coming weekend. In fact, more of the same here. And so you can just follow us on our socials on Instagram, Twitch, Twitter /X, Discord, YouTube, and register for the races via our website. Plus, you can see some of the short form content here on TikTok. But I think without any last words, gentlemen, we can start with Lorenzo first. How was everything here tonight?
Oh, it was just really good. Both races delivered quite a lot in terms of action. That's what we wanted to see around the track, especially the TCRs. I think delivered pretty much the standard TCR race. We got an RG Baji, of course. I think the driver said about aggressiveness. I think it was a little bit more aggressive. I agree 100%. That's the nature of the cars. I think the fact that the track was a little bit more clustered, especially through the second half, made everything more truncated. We saw more incidents and things like that, but that's again nature of TCRs. Drivers trying to go up and down the grid. So I liked it. I can't wait to see what we have in the weekend with the NASCAR.
Indeed, and more of the same as well. Yep. More of the same as well, especially the fact that we are going to see some classic NASCARs on an oval. But Damon, any closing words as well?
I mean, this is my first time casting for AMX, and honestly, probably couldn't find a better way to start off, considering the amount of stuff that's happened over the past couple of hours, 2 races. Oh, I thought I wouldn't be able to stay awake, but here I am now, bright as sunshine. And honestly, it's fun. It's just fun to watch.
Indeed. And we'll be seeing more of the same this weekend. But for now, it's from me, Amir, alongside me, Damon, and Lorenzo. It's goodbye, and we'll see you next time for more action on AMX Global Season 4.